Hello, welcome to D&D Grandma. My name is Sean Bell. I'm joined by Matthew Murray.
Hello there.
Is that the D&D Grandma? That's good. I like that. And James Farley. Wazoo.
What?
Well, I have no idea what that is.
Okay.
Is that
what they do on the D&D Grandma?
No, that was...
Is that what grandmas do?
No.
Who
No, it
does that then?
Haven't you been watching David's videos? Obviously not.
Oh God, no, I haven't. I haven't. I know he's been talking about them, and I've seen the tweets. I've just not. They've
Best
always been
thing
like
ever.
while I've been at work, and I can't actually watch or listen to things.
Yeah, I saw something. Where? Okay, let's not get into it.
Yeah, D&D Grandma. What on earth happened there?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I woke up on some morning last week, and actually, no, I checked my phone as I do, every morning, of course, and I had a notification, like announcement saying like new podcast on the TCGS feed. I was like, what? And then I looked at it, and it was D&D Grandma, this Dungeons and Dragons podcast somehow appeared on our feed. I've literally no idea. Obviously, I checked Twitter. The first things I saw were people saying, "I can't believe Matt's done this." Again, but no, it had nothing to do with this. I don't know what happened. It was on. I think basically, it obviously happened, and then it got caught fairly soon. I think because on some podcast services it wasn't on there at all. Other people it wasn't their main Apple Podcast thing. Then it was on third parties, and it was sort of gradually sort of seeping through. But yeah, we don't know what happened there. If it's a Podbean thing or an iTunes thing. I'm thinking it must be iTunes.
Oh, really? I assumed it was Podbean, but...
I guess, but then I guess I didn't ask what D&D Grandma, what they're hosted on. But either way, somehow... Yeah. And also our podcast was on their feed.
Really? Was it? I thought it wasn't.
Well, no, because because they tweeted us saying, basically, this is our artwork, but it's your show. So I think ours. I think
they were talking about the stuff that was on our feed, though, weren't they? I thought it because I checked their feed and it looked fine.
Oh, did
That's
you?
why I was pissed off because I was like, look, if we at least got a bit of cross promotion out of it, I wouldn't mind so much. But it was
Anyway, we don't know what happened, but somehow D&D Grandma appeared on our feed. Mad.
Yeah, that was very weird. It was just, and as you say, it was just one of those fascinating things because whatever it was appeared to have been fixed almost instantly because of the way podcatchers work. It just took forever for them all to realise that it had been fixed. So, sorry to everyone who thought we'd taken a radical new direction. Although we did get a couple of people tweeting at us being like, yeah, very funny, but when are you doing a Dungeons and Dragons podcast?
No.
Which I don't think, well, because I had a couple of people like, oh, yeah, no, but it'd be really funny getting Dave to do that. I was like, no, right, because this is the opposite of when you all say it'd be really funny to get me to a football match.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'd have nothing to say. Or,
like, you don't know that. Work. It might be brilliant.
Yeah, but probably not. I mean, I'll go to a footy match if we do a Dungeons and Dragons podcast.
Oh, God, well, I'll do one then, definitely. That's it.
I know you will, but what about James?
James, I had you as a D&D fan anyway.
No, afraid not.
No, I sort of imagine you went like
certain
a big
lines
cape.
even James won't cross. You won't do the fancy magic cards, and you won't do role playing.
I mean, I've never played it, to be honest, because I've never really felt really into it. I mean, it may be something I'd enjoy. I don't know, but I've never tried it.
It's pretty like Dungeons and Dragons has sort of seen a resurgence because it's the one that you don't really have to take that seriously. Mm-hmm. Whereas like a lot of other pen and paper RPGs, it's like, no, you are telling a story and you should try and like act as your character and so not like,
yeah, because I told you
stuff, but...
I'm not sure if it was on this show, but I said I played that werewolf game once.
Oh yeah.
What sort of game is that?
That's werewolf is part of the world of darkness, which started with vampire and then it's werewolf and a load of other shit. Werewolf's all right. It's basically Dungeons and Dragons is for people who really just want to do the fights and stuff, whereas most of the pen and paper RPGs are more about actually just sort of collaboratively telling a story. And like there are rules and stuff, but anyway, no one actually cares. Sorry, we shouldn't have gone to this.
No, yeah. So instead of like coming to mind whenever there's a console launch, and we're still waiting for a fair bit, just come to mind and we'll do D&D live on Twitch.
See, this is the thing. I can't imagine going out of our way to meet up and then doing that instead of actually playing.
How long do those games
proper
last?
Games?
Are they like multiple hours?
They can be. Yeah, I mean, there's all different campaigns, or you can just write your own. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but
so there are short ones.
Is going to be the dungeon master?
It'd probably have to be me, I guess.
Because I'd love it to be Dave.
I don't know how to play the game.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to play it, so it'd be funnier.
Expect Dave to. Yeah, fair enough. You could write the campaign as well. It'd actually be funny then.
Yeah.
This show is supported by Patreon. If you want to head to patreon.com/TCGS, you can give us a sub and get stuff for it. We have a $40 Patreon producer tier, and the people who have subscribed to that this week are Alan M. Nash, Steve Garrett, and Aaron Patrick. Thank you very much for that. It is well appreciated. I mean, I know we say this every time, but the monthly Patreon payment has come through and once again pulled my arse out of the fire financially. So thanks very much.
It's absolutely amazing. Thank you ever so much for everyone who supports us on Patreon. Very much appreciated.
For sure.
Yes.
Right, feedback.
Let's get on to it. Last week we talked about loot boxes, of course, but we'll crack on to Oliver Birch's email. Morning, gents. Just some feedback from last week's show and the gambling discussion. Though at first I did agree with the whole loot boxes are a form of gambling, I've since talked myself out of it. From my view, where does this end? Cost of a single basic FIFA pack/loot box is what, £1? Not far off the cost of a pack of Panini stickers, Pokemon cards, or Kinder Surprise. Even things like Loot Crate have existed for years at a much higher premium with oftentimes greater risk-reward. All things considered, microtransactions are, in my opinion, just a more accessible version of all the aforementioned surprise element goods.
Well, that's all fair and good, but it's also bollocks. And the reason... The reason being is because...
Strong start from James. Go
on. No. The reason being is because, okay, it's true that those things cost, like, small amounts of money, but it's quite difficult to spend, like, say, £10,000 on Kinder Surprise. Whereas it's easier to do that through microtransactions.
Yeah, because he says it himself. It's a much more accessible version of those things. It's like, yes, that is the problem.
Yeah.
Is that it's so much easier. Like, if you walk into a shop and try to buy an entire pack of, like, Panini cards or whatever,
that's still not going to cost you £1,000, is it? Like, if you do that. Whereas
and the person who owns a shop is going to be like, really? And that, I mean, obviously, if you really want to do that, you can do it. But there's an element, like that element of judgment or whatever, is actually quite a powerful tool to put people off these things. Whereas if you're just clicking a button and money just disappears out of your account, it's like, it's becoming more common. I think it's like mainly in America, but like restaurants where you can just order food on a tablet rather than having to actually ask someone for something, because dessert orders fucking skyrocket when you do that. Because you don't have to look another human in the eye and say, I want shitloads of ice cream, please. If you're just tapping buttons on a screen and the thing just turns up, you're much more likely to do like compulsive things.
Yeah.
So I think there is a huge difference.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like if you go to like McDonald's or whatever, and it's like if you use the touchscreen, it's much less bad than if you're like saying to the person that you want like a ton of burgers. It's
exactly. It's like, because I used to just get a meal from McDonald's, and now it's like, actually, I could get some chicken selects and an apple pie. And could I just make it large? Why not?
I think it doesn't feel as fun. It's more fun if you say, 3 DCs, 20 nugs, extra value meal. Just saying it out to a robot. I don't get the satisfaction of looking someone in the eye and saying, I'm going to eat all these nugs. I'm going to eat these 3 DCs.
I mean, if you can derive satisfaction rather than absolute shame from that, then more power to you, Matt.
I get off on that, Sean. I love that.
No, you see, as I said, the difference between this is the ease of buying it, obviously, because it's like linked to your credit card, all that kind of thing. Also, the way that it's presented to you, and the fact that you can buy like a crate of gems or whatever for like £100, and people do that. I mean, just watch that video that Dave put up recently of the crane game thing, where people are just pumping money into that because it's easy. It's very simple to do that. It's quite different if you're buying stuff like Pokemon cards or Panini stickers or whatever, because there is a limit there. Like there's a limit from the actual shop. Like they have a limit of stock. This stuff doesn't. It's different. It's a little bit different.
And like there's something. I mean, this is mainly like a psychological difference. But like if I'm buying a pack of cards from a shop, random cards that are already in a pack, and I can see they're in a pack in a box. And I'm just buying, I'm picking a pack of them and buying them. I know there's no trickery regarding what's in that pack. Whereas, what happens when I know some countries they have to publicise the odds, right?
Yeah, it's publicised the drop rates and everything.
Yeah. But without that, I'm like, well, how do I know they're not fucking with it? It's like if you went into a shop and went, can I have a pack of these cards? And then a guy turned around to a big pile of cards and sort of picked out cards and put them in a box for me and then gave me the box. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, hang on a minute. How do I know what you've picked is properly random? But I mean, that's just sort of paranoia, I guess. But I don't know. Yeah, it is different. It's the short answer.
James, I don't think Isaac's probably old enough yet, or maybe he is. But have your kids got into blind bags? Yeah, in shops.
Okay, Matt. First of all, my son's name's Asher.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
No. I said Isaac. I was talking about Sean's kid.
You just said James.
You said James.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I meant what? I meant Sean. I said it doesn't matter what I said.
Okay, Matt,
did you also say kids plural?
Yeah.
I've only got the one.
I mean, okay. Who you directed the question at, Matt?
Well, I was going to ask you, and then I thought, no, I don't want to leave Sean out. So I said, well, maybe Isaac isn't quite old enough, but how about you? And I said both of you. It doesn't matter either way. Have your kids got into blind bags, James?
No,
not you, Sean.
Sorry, that was quite funny. Not you. No, they haven't, because I don't get in for going for that, because it's I don't think they're good.
So I mistakenly bought one in for Elodie once, and it was like every time I went to shop, like she was trying to collect all these mashing things, and yeah, I mean, that's pretty much a form of gambling. You don't know what you're going to get, and you keep buying them until you get the one you're trying to get hold of. It's an absolute nightmare. Luckily, she's got
but she's got you to mitigate it. Unless you're getting into it as well, Matt, and you're like, let's just get a whole crate of them.
No, I wasn't the one sort of in like Tesco, the toilet at Tesco, like feeling all the packets to try and make sure she got the Elsa she wanted. that was definitely Jill, not me. But yeah, I presume Isaac hasn't got into that stuff yet, Sean.
Isaac can barely say his own name, so
okay, yeah,
just, not a problem yet.
Just keep it that way if I were you.
Did either of you guys collect trash can trolls?
No.
When you were little?
No, I don't know what that is.
Well, it always throws me because I mainly see them referred to by Americans, and they knew them as garbage pail kids.
Oh yeah, no,
that. Okay, I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, exactly. But here they were trash can trolls. So it was like the trolls, the little figures with the long hair and stuff. It was
you
just
put your fingers in your eyes, that thing, and you're like, is that them? Oh no, I'm thinking of Boglins.
You're thinking of Boglins. Boglins also very good. But yeah, trash can troll, they were just collectible cards, but it was just those trolls, but just like doing really gross things.
Lovely stuff.
But I mean, sort of child appropriate gross things, but still gross things.
Yeah.
Like this one guy's like he'd grabbed his hair and he was just eating it.
Oh.
And it was just like a continuous cycle of him eating his hair and it growing out the top of his head again.
That's horrendous.
And then another one.
Your body part and hair. That's ugh.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's just weird shit like that. That was like, well, that's not inappropriate, but it is making me feel slightly ill.
Definitely. I mean,
I used to collect those.
I spent a lot of money on like Panini, like football stickers when I was younger, and that's the same, isn't it, James? Wouldn't you say?
No.
Did you get into Panini when you were younger?
Yeah, I did. I've got loads of those back in the garage, but again, they didn't cost me £10,000 or whatever.
You don't know how much you spent. I mean,
just for inflation, James.
25p each. Yeah, these days. I mean, you've seen us a lot. Is it Match Attacks or whatever today's version is, and that's like $150 a pack. Like kids, anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's get on to it. This is
do you not just go on Amazon and just buy them a box?
I guess you could do, but
because I discovered this
a crate of Panini cards.
Yeah, well, because I discovered this when Nu was pregnant, and she was finding that so she's getting really bad. She got really into football cards. No, she was getting really bad sickness, and she found that sweets were helping. Particularly, she's really into jelly babies, and she was like buying loads of packs of jelly babies. And I realised you can just get like a 14-kilogram bag off Amazon for like 15 quid. It's just like boom, there you go. I ended up having most of them.
Nice.
There you go.
But yeah, that would definitely take all the fun out of it. Like half the fun was a couple of packets a week before and after paper round or whatever. Not like
the way you're saying this sounds like you were totally into the gambling element of it. You're like talking about the excitement of like opening the wrapper to see what you've got and all that.
I mean, I wouldn't class that as gambling. Every single kid in my year was playing those things. It wasn't. I didn't feel like gambling at the time. It's just I've got to get the number one shiny of the Premier League trophy. Thank you.
Were you sweating when you were like opening the packets and stuff?
Had to get someone else to open because his hands were shaking.
James, if you weren't sweating as well, then you weren't playing the game properly. I don't know how you could not be sweating with excitement opening those packets.
Oh God, I've just seen what the next email is.
It'll be fine. Related. It'll be fine. This is it's from Tom Egerton, entitled Magic the Gathering Pay to Win. This one is predominantly for Sean. Sorry, I'm a bit behind the times with this one, but you recently described Magic the Gathering Arena game as allowing players to scan in real-world decks for use in the game. This was deservedly described positively, but could you explain how or why this is different to the reviled pay-to-win aspects of other competitive games. Surely those with the most money can buy a powerful real-world deck, scan it in, and gain a competitive advantage. Or is Magic balanced so well that one deck doesn't really have a competitive advantage over any other, but rather promotes or supports a particular style of play? This is coming from a place of complete ignorance. I'm not accusing you of being Magic shills. And that's from Tom.
It's certainly more the latter in that. Certainly, yeah. So when they bring out, it's you kind of have to think of it as like expansions for a game. So every so often, like a new season will kick off, and it'll be like, here's a bunch of cards that new cards we've introduced to the game, and then then they'll release like 5 sort of pre-made decks that you can buy. Those decks are only about a tenner. So, the idea is you just sort of see it as like an ongoing shifting thing. Like every time a new season comes in, yes, it changes the game, and the new cards that come out will have certain advantages over the old ones. It's not that they're better necessarily. It's just that the shape of the, as they call it, the meta of the game has changed overall, and it's kind of shifted like what defines like a good or bad deck. Which I guess, yeah, and obviously inevitably that it does feel like a bit of power creep. Like when I talked about it the other week, I was saying how like I used to play the card game and then a load of new cards came out and suddenly my cards were shit. And I was like, oh, well, fuck this. And I just stopped playing because I didn't understand that it's this, like, that's just how the game progresses. There's no other way of doing it. Either, you release a bunch of cards and then you go, there you go. That's the game. See you later. Or you keep iterating on it and you keep adding new things. And obviously that becomes impossible to like perfectly balance. I think Netrunner, which was really successful and then mysteriously stopped because a license ran out or something, I think that had like an actual subscription model where you could subscribe to it and you just got the new shit whenever it came out, which is maybe a better way of doing it. But like the really dangerous angle, which again relates to what we've just been saying, is that you can just buy boosters and maybe get new cards that aren't actually part of the new pre-made decks. And then you get into like actual deck building where you actually put your own stuff together and theoretically come up with things that are better or just more interesting than the pre-made decks. So it's just kind of how it works, and you kind of expected to want to buy new cards every so often. So yeah, it's not quite as insipid. I think it's like it's understood that is just the business model, and that's how the game has to operate to evolve. Really.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like every time there's a new series, that's like equivalent of like a new character in Overwatch or a big new patch, and you've got to adjust and accordingly.
And it just sort of rejigs things, and yes, it makes some things initially maybe seem shit in comparison, but it's like maybe it just like so that situation I was in where, back in the day where new stuff came out and I was like, oh, suddenly my deck's shit. The correct response to that is just be like, well, no, the game has just changed and I should, enjoy the fact that I now have to rethink my deck. Like, it shouldn't just be a case of, well, I've built this one deck and I like it. That's all I want to play for the next 10 years. I should be happy that there's new stuff to, think about. So, yeah.
Nice one. We also talked last week about the Bethesda.net account controversy, if you want to call it that in inverted commas. Mehmet has tweeted in, regarding the Doom/Bethesda account login controversy, I think you may have ignored one aspect of the situation that does make it kind of cynical. You need to log into an online account to play the game from which your online portion has been ripped out. It's Doom, but offline only.
That's silly. I assumed it had deathmatch. So that's really or even if it had co-op, that would be a laugh. That is kind of weird.
That is silly.
Yeah.
We talked about which consoles you think will last the next 20 years, or at least the most hardcore in terms of like hardware build and whatnot. Dean Chillmaid has tweeted in, following on from the hardware chat this week, my 360 once red ringed when I was playing GTA with some friends. I opened it up and the heatsink had all burned away, causing the overheating. I used toothpaste to replace it, and it worked like a charm until I can go out the next day and get some proper heatsink. That thing refused to die.
I would love to know if he knew that would work, or if it was just a total fucking gamble.
Oh yeah. So what happened? He put it on the carpet, maybe outside his room. It's near the bathroom. He accidentally stood on a tube of toothpaste. It went in.
No, I mean, did he? Did he just think, oh, well, what have I got in the house that is some sort of paste?
Oh no, let's not get into that. What I want to know is how many things did he have to try first of all before he realised the toothpaste worked? It's like mustard,
bit of mayonnaise, bit of jam.
This is simple. No, that's not working.
No,
I've got done it. No, that's not working.
I hope to God that he's actually like some sort of engineer, and he was just like, actually, yeah, toothpaste has similar properties to thermal paste, therefore that'll be fine for a day.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I hope so.
Absolutely. Okay, we talked about Fire Emblem, of course. We're going to cover it again later. Everyone keeps accusing people who chose the Black Eagles of being Tories, but Aaron at Furry Fruit has tweeted in, don't let Sean fool you into thinking that the Leicester Alliance, a state led by a council of nobles who left the empire because they wanted power for themselves, is some kind of liberal utopia. All three houses are Tories. It's a Tory simulator.
They all do seem to be wrong uns, don't they? Like,
yeah, you said, well, we'll get onto this, but so Claude from the Alliance has visions of a better world, actually.
Well, they all say that.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily a good thing. Like, what kind of better world? Is this like a better world, based on the principles of capitalism? Utopian capitalism?
Oh, let's not get into that again, James.
You'll set the Americans on us again. I'll talk about it in a bit.
Okay.
Awesome. And that's it for follow-up and feedback this week. It's at Computing Game Pod on Twitter if you want to tweet some feedback or whatever's on your mind. Or you can email podcast@thecomputergameshow.com.
James, have you seen the 2012 San Diego 4th of July fireworks display?
Actually, no. I've always been meaning to, but I've never got around to it.
You missed that year. Mm-hmm. So this is the one, you might have heard about it. It's when they accidentally set off all the fireworks at once.
Okay.
Because they had apparently the way these displays work is that like there is a program built into the system where like to check that all the triggers are working before you put the fireworks in. You press a button and it just fires every single one and checks they're all working. And they accidentally hit that button when all the fireworks were in. And I mean, it's worth looking up the video because it's absolutely hilarious. Because basically, so what happened was a firework display that was meant to last half an hour went off in about 35 seconds, the whole lot. Mm-hmm. And it looks like a war, but with all people with like picnic blankets out and stuff. And like, some people are just like, this is amazing. And some people are like genuinely scared, like it's actually quite intimidating. And basically that's what the sort of experience I want from the news this week. I want you to just absolutely bombard me with like half an hour's worth of content in 35 seconds.
But like, obviously very quickly, just sort of rapid fire. Like,
basically, Matt, in the edit, if you could get Matt, if you can edit this news segment so that you can just layer each bit of news on top of the other so that it all happens at the same time.
Okay, I might do that.
I mean, probably don't.
No,
what's the news, James?
It's been a rubbish week, hasn't it? It's
summer, innit? Get outside. The weather's nice.
It is. I mean, there's not really a lot of really interesting stuff. I mean, these are the picks. I mean, I've chosen these. I mean, most of these are Matt stories, really, like ones that I'd imagine.
What?
The ones that I'd imagine you're interested in, but I'm not particularly interested in.
I don't. Well, let's see what the news is.
Okay, Ninja starts streaming exclusively on Mixer.
Okay.
So I thought you'd be well up for this, Matt. Can you talk to us about it? Because
why would I be well up for it?
Because you love all this stuff, all these like celebrity streamers and all that kind of thing.
You do love an influencer, Matt.
Yeah. It is. It's massive news. Yeah, basically he's just out of the blue, seemingly out of the blue, although he said he's been working on it for months. But out of the blue, he's left Twitch and exclusively now on Microsoft's Mixer streaming platform. Yeah. Yeah, when I saw it, I couldn't believe it. I mean, blown away is the wrong word, but I was like, this is obviously a huge deal. I mean, he's arguably Twitch's biggest asset, and now he's gone. In fact, actually, within minutes of him announcing it, Twitch have removed his verified tick. And people were like, that's so petty of Twitch, but actually, you only get that if you're a partner. So. And if you're partner of one, you can't be a partner of another, so it's all just above board. But everyone's like, great shade thrown there by Twitch. No, that's probably what they do. But massive. And like now he's on Mixer. I think subs are free for him for the first 2 months. He's already got like 500,000 subs. And I presume subs on Mixer get the same stuff. Yeah, hell yeah.
Hit us.
Okay, so he had 14,956 subscribers on Twitch. And I was quite surprised by this because this is apparently down from a peak. At one point, he had 285,000.
I was going to say, 14,000, that doesn't actually sound
it doesn't, does it? It doesn't sound as impressive as I thought that it was going to be.
No, because I thought Ninja was like bigger than Jesus, so I just assumed it was like... hundreds of thousands, if not.
He's still massive, but whereas one point he was like by far and away like the biggest streamer. If you look at Fortnite, he was always at the top. Sometimes other people are catching up on. I think Fortnite, the interest in that is slowly declining, and I think that's the same. Watching him.
But then also, you see, according to Twitch's figures from since this has happened, the number of people watching Fortnite hasn't declined. It's stayed pretty constant. So
okay, so they've just moved over to other streamers.
They're kind of arguing that for them this is not a big deal. Actually, it hasn't really impacted them at all. But I mean, what's quite interesting is that the first night that he did this, he got over double his recent Twitch numbers. But that's still not even close to what he had before. Like it's still, not so close. But I guess this is just kind of the beginning. I mean, I did like the reason that he said he was doing this. Did you see this?
No.
Okay, so he said that he wanted to go back to his roots, as he got famous from playing Halo, and this was the reason. I'm sure it wasn't the $50 million dollars that he apparently has been given as well.
No, it's nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
it's doing it for free. It's basically an act of charity.
The $50 million is it's a rumoured amount that Tom Warren from the Verge said. But his tweet I thought was really interesting because obviously I saw some people saying, "Oh, this is just so we can stream Halo Infinite and stuff." And I was like, I think it's probably a bit more than just getting someone to stream one game. But I thought Tom Warren's tweet was really interesting. He said, "Why did Microsoft pay around $50 million to get Ninja on Mixer? This isn't about selling Xbox consoles as a platform play for xCloud, and Microsoft needs as many entry points as possible. Google has YouTube and Stadia, Amazon has Twitch, Microsoft has Xbox and Mixer and xCloud." And it does make total sense if you look at it.
It does, because at the end of the day, I couldn't care less, right? But in most people's eyes, this will now prevent Mixer from being another Bing, where it's just it's the thing that Microsoft always bring up because they're like, hey, why don't you use our service? And everyone's like, just shut up, man, no one cares. Whereas I think for a lot of people, this will legitimize Mixer in a lot of ways. It's always sounded good as a streaming service. It's offered certain functionality and stuff before Twitch, co-streaming and stuff, which is something we've wanted to do. I think Twitch is sort of introducing that now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's I think for partners at the moment, but it is coming soon. I mean, they've already announced it's coming. But the technology behind Mixer, it seems really good, and I have seen loads of other people move over to it. I always got an impression when I saw streamers move from Twitch to Mixer that they were getting paid, to do so. But
well, this is it. But then, for people like us, I don't think there's really any incentive to move, is there? If anything, I would worry that we'd lose the few sort of regular viewers that we have, because I don't know how big a difference it makes to people.
Well, it's that whole thing of this will sound ridiculous, but as we've learned from the Epic Games Store, people don't like installing new software, do they?
Exactly.
Do
but then
stuff.
It's just a case of going on a different website for most people, right?
Yeah. It's a different website, different app. I guess obviously with Twitch you get a free monthly subscription if you're an Amazon Prime customer. Feel free to give us a sub if you're that.
It depends on how you watch it, doesn't it? Because if you're watching it through a console, then the only console you can watch it through is an Xbox, isn't it? You can't. There isn't a Mixer app for PlayStation.
Whereas there is a Twitch app. For, well, not on the Switch, but every other console. I can't. It doesn't affect me, does it? I feel like not only have I never seen Ninja do anything, but when people are retweeting reactions and oh, look at this person's having a go at him, it's all other massive streamers that I've never heard of, and it just all makes me feel massively out of touch. But yeah.
It's huge. I think it's a huge announcement. Huge
acquisition. It is. It absolutely is. But, it makes me feel really bewildered.
I follow Ninja on all the social channels that I see. Is he's really good at Fortnite. I guess there's no denying that. I mean, I have no real affiliation for him as a streamer at all. It's just there's nothing. Maybe I haven't watched enough, but there's nothing about him I warm to. But it's a huge deal, and it'd be very interesting to see how he is implemented in Microsoft's sort of forthcoming 18 months of promoting new console, new games and stuff. It'd be very interesting. But
do you think I'll have him on stage at E3 next year?
Yeah, almost certainly. Yeah, that is definitely going to be there.
50 million is massive, but this might be one of those things where in a few years' time, maybe I wonder if that would be a shrewd purchase. I don't think this would. Yeah, I mean, like there are other people like Shroud and maybe not to disrespect, but maybe he's not. I mean, he's still massive, but I don't think he's not really a safe buy at the current point. But I don't think someone like Shroud would go exclusive because his whole thing is like playing CS:GO and doing his own thing. Like, I think if someone comes to you with a massive check of 50 million, you'll probably say yes. But Ninja's arguably the biggest, and I don't see it happening for many other people. But I wouldn't, or I also wouldn't be surprised to see other people, maybe start to affiliate themselves to certain publishers and stuff if the money's there.
Must be weird. Like if you're a streamer who is almost as big as Ninja or whatever, if Mixer just was a better platform, wouldn't you at this point be like, well, I'm going to wait until they fucking offer me some cash. I'm not just going to move over for my own reasons. I'm going to wait until they try and pay me. I don't know. Yeah, I can't imagine having to consider this stuff. It's insane.
No. I mean, we are always open to to deals if you want to get in contact. It's
honestly, I'd do it for what, 500?
Yeah.
What, 500 million? I don't think that's going to happen.
No, 500 pennies, mate.
A fiver? Okay, I'll pay you £7 now. Yeah, I mean, we have been streaming. I've been streaming on Mixer every single Sunday for a long time.
Really? Oh, that's right. Because you just
I stream to I use Restream, so we're streaming like YouTube, Twitch, Periscope, and Mixer. I don't think we're having any viewers. I looked if we can get. I think SMW tweeted saying, "Has Matt checked or applied for Mixer partnership yet?" Yeah, we're nowhere near that because obviously we don't push it. So I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Yeah, it's interesting. I that's about it really.
But Mixer is doing better apparently now though. Like they've seen, there's been like a 37% increase in channels. So there's been a lot more of that, and they apparently got 1.97 million now. So I don't know, they're doing the typical Microsoft thing of just like hanging in there for as long as possible and hoping that it kind of takes off eventually.
It's not unlike the Epic Store situation, is it? Where actually, legitimate competition for Twitch is probably a good thing.
Oh absolutely. I
don't always like the way Twitch handle things, but again, if all they're doing is throwing money at the problem, but then if they're throwing money at the problem to make people realise that what they've got is actually a better service, then that's not so bad. But
yeah, I mean, it does. Technically, it's got some cool features, but I do remember going and watching E3 conferences on it because the last few years, Microsoft said if you watch through Mixer, you get free games. Actually, I think Outer Wilds was a game given away.
Really?
Do one of you two get it? Oh no, I guess not. But
no, I wouldn't have been.
I'm sure I've seen online. I have received free copies of Outer Wilds because they watched an E3 stream a couple of years ago, and when I tried to do it just wasn't working very well. But yeah, I guess every service is up and down, but. Yeah, it's interesting for sure.
Well, you can't keep throwing money at a problem unless you want it solved. That's the thing.
Is that okay? Is that an ancient sort of proverb?
It is, yeah.
Karl Marx quote.
Yeah. Anyway, next story is that so this is E3 have accidentally leaked personal details of journalists, YouTubers, and analysts.
I mean, this is fucking bad, isn't it?
Yeah. The funny thing is, just before we start, is actually since you put this link in the doc, there's actually been another leak.
You're kidding?
No. There's been apparently now 3,300 from a previous year has also been leaked.
Fucking hell!
So
this was only.
I'll let you do the story now.
I mean, this was 2025. People had their stuff leaked. So the list was accessible via the website, and it was through a download link. And so the ESA have said that they said they regret the occurrence and have removed the link. Shit. I mean, that's pretty terrible. But the list includes names, publications, home addresses, email addresses, phone numbers, the whole thing. And the rationale they gave for having this is they said it was so that publishers and developers can invite people to events and private viewings and stuff like that. And that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But I don't understand why that information would be anywhere near a public-facing website. That doesn't make much sense.
Why wasn't the file also encrypted and, a bunch of other things? It's absolutely insane that this was allowed to happen, and they are going to get sued to shit.
Well, yeah, I mean, do you want to hear the full quote? So it says,
go on then.
The Entertainment Software Association, in brackets ESA, was made aware yesterday of a website vulnerability on the exhibitor portion of the E3 website. Unfortunately, a vulnerability was exploited and that list became public. We regret this happened and are sorry. But then, as you said, they're definitely going to get sued for this.
Because so I believe, obviously all your larger media organisations are going to be putting something together I believe like freelancers are all sort of banding together to see if they can do something. I can't remember how GDPR works. I think because the data isn't hosted in Europe, presumably it isn't, then I think they're in the clear. But I mean, the fine for that would be absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah.
If they could get them on GDPR, but I don't think they can. But I mean, yeah, like obviously that stuff is insane. But what's really awful is that now there are like freelance writers. I mean, so obviously if you work for, you know, a big website or whatever, in most cases you'll have used your work contact details, but there's a lot of freelancers or people who just work from home and they have got their home addresses on there. And next time those people want to run a story about something shitty that has happened in the industry, whether it's, you know, like, you know, if it's something about sexism or whatever, basically the stuff that sets the, you know, proper idiots
stuff that upsets people.
That's now like a legitimate risk. And obviously in some cases some writers are known for writing about that stuff and are already incredibly worried because now they have been doxed effectively. So this is unbelievably harmful. And like I honestly wouldn't be surprised if this has a real impact on E3 going forward. Because fucking hell, like who's going to want to send people next year to actually cover it? I think you know, they'll probably just make it up with regular punters who won't care either way. But I don't think the ESA have realised quite how long it's going to take them to crawl out of this, because that apology is piss weak.
It's awful, isn't it?
It's shocking. What is it with people not being able to fucking apologise properly? I know, and like, I know it's like the, you know, running joke that's like, oh well, if I committed an atrocity, I'd definitely be able to apologise better for it. But it is just endlessly fascinating to me how bad people are at apologising for doing really obviously awful things. I think it's going to be interesting to see how long it takes for this to truly settle, because I think it's going to be a while. Yeah. Or like all of the bad news these days, it'll just sort of go away and be replaced by something else even worse.
Yeah, everyone forget about it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
It's bad. Yeah, I mean, it was really upsetting over the weekend. Just seeing lots of people just say how upset they were, and and that their partners were worried and whatnot. Yeah. It wasn't a nice time.
Really shocking.
Okay, this is the final news story this week, and this is about EA. And
good.
This is EA arguing that Switch owners prefer to play their games on other platforms. So, what this was, this was really interesting. I thought. I mean, So what this was Andrew Wilson was having like an investors call, and one of the investors asked him like, "Why are there no EA games on Switch?" And he replied and said there were two reasons. This is the quote. He says, anytime we're evaluating platform conversations, we are really looking at a couple of things. One, does the game really fit the profile of that system in terms of the control or the community ecosystem? And two, do you think the community playing on that platform would appreciate the game to go there, or would they prefer to play it somewhere else? And then he argued that because most people own Switches, also own other consoles, that they would probably rather buy the games on those systems instead of buying them on the Switch. And he said that they have data to back this up.
Like, yeah, but do you know what people would prefer even more? Those games on the Switch having the same features as the versions on the other consoles.
Having those games on the Switch, but good, would be the thing. I mean, as everyone already knows, I've played FIFA on Switch many times, and
bought it
multiple different versions.
I've bought multiple different versions of that game, and it is not great. It's fine. It's it's a serviceable sort of version of the game.
I mean, it's good enough for you to buy like 6 different copies of the same game in one season. But
yeah. I mean, I was helping them out, if anything, like with this. But
I mean, I'd love to see if that. Well, actually, like data says, no one buys it apart from one person in Canterbury who bought 7 copies.
Cannot be stopped.
Yeah,
it's typical EA, isn't it? You just half-arse something and then go, "Oh, look, no one wants this." Yeah, because you did it badly. That's not.
Well, not just that, but there's only 4 games on the Switch as well. 2 of them are FIFA ones. One of them is it Fee or Faye? I can't remember how you pronounce it.
I think I don't know.
Whatever that is. And Unravel 2. is the other one, and that's it. And this is what was really funny because when you first see it, and then they just say, people prefer playing our games on other platforms, and it's like, well, they haven't got any other choice because there aren't any games on it anyway. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it didn't have to be this way. They could have just done. I mean, I know it's not that simple, but yeah, if they'd put more effort into the ports, this might not be a thing. But here we are.
It's like FIFA has gone Legacy Edition already on Switch, and that's basically because they clearly cannot be bothered to to sort of update the engine or do anything with it. I mean, I think this was because I reckon that they probably tried to get Frostbite on there, and then it turned out that they couldn't do it, and that's why they just can't be bothered.
Definitely, yeah. Because obviously all the games are in Frostbite now, so the fact they couldn't get what the Battlefield 1 was it? They couldn't get on there, so clearly they could also get a struggle with every one of the other games.
Yeah,
but I also think, I mean, we actually heard the big Anthem piece that Jason Schreier did that the Frostbite engine is a nightmare to work with, but I'm sure everyone would take a different engine, slightly, obviously slightly less graphics, a less sort of graphical capability and quality compared to the console versions. They'll take that for if it's still FIFA, maybe for crossplay, maybe it's like cross save. Everyone will take a FIFA that obviously isn't going to look as good as one on PS4 and Xbox, but the fact that it's on the move, it's just they don't want to do it, do they?
I'll tell you what, though. I mean, okay, I'm sure that financially they're doing absolutely fine, no problem at all. But this generation's been a shocker for EA, hasn't it, really? I mean, can you think of any games that have come out this generation from EA, aside from
Apex.
maybe Titanfall, that's been, critically, people have thought were good? I mean,
Apex is the success story at the moment.
Is it though?
Yeah, but even that's not. That's waned, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Because
it's waned, but it's an IP that had a big bang that I think a lot of people think of fondly if you're into that sort of thing, and at least it hasn't been dogged with all these issues that so many of the other games have. But EA have not had a good generation at all.
No.
I mean, I'm just having a look at last, for the PS3 360 generation, they had loads of games that were quite good. There was quite a lot of good stuff here, but there's been very little this year. It's
so. I mean, what do you think you could pin that down to?
Frostbite, maybe? Is that maybe?
I mean, that's all you hear from the developers, isn't it?
Yeah.
BioWare and across Dragon Age Inquisition and Anthem are just
and there was Mass Effect Andromeda, wasn't there as well? Which
God, yeah, of course.
And that didn't work out so well, and that was apparently because of the engine issues and everything as well.
Yeah, apparently it's basically, if you try and make Frostbite do anything other than a first-person shooter, it's just not built for it.
But also, I mean, this generation, probably more so than any other, it also has felt like EA have been just randomly pivoting to whatever the trend is in terms of making money. First it was the loot crates, now it's games as a service. They seem to just go wherever they think they can get bank as quickly as possible, but it hasn't really worked.
Yeah, really strange. It's such a shame because, I remember 10 years ago, no, God, more than 10 years ago, everyone was ragging on EA. And then it was that sort of 2008, when Battlefield Bad Company came out, Mirror's Edge, and it was they took... They took all these risks, and initially they didn't pay off, but they, I think it was when John Riccatello was still in charge, and he was like, no, we knew this would happen. We're just trying to establish some new interesting things. And now you're going to see sequels. And then it sort of and then it was okay. Bad Company 2 is the best Battlefield game ever made. Don't shout at me. And I mean, we eventually got a Mirror's Edge sequel that apparently wasn't great. But point is, EA seemed okay for a while, and now it just seems like they're fully back to their old tricks, and it's just boring, isn't it? I just it's just.
I mean, they went for the whole worst company in America, that sort of thing. But I'm sure they will turn it around. But I think after this generation, they probably do need to have a step back and say, what went wrong. And it's very clear they weren't at their former glories. And now someone like Ubisoft has done what EA probably wanted to do. Ubisoft have stuck with games, maybe games that had rocky starts, like Rainbow Six Siege, and I guess the First Division had that, For Honor had that, but they're stuck with it, and people generally love tons of Ubisoft licenses, and I think EA needs to take a leaf out of their book, really, especially for next gen.
Yep.
there was so much stuff as well that EA bought that you just think it's a I mean, like, what happened to PopCap? You know, like the stuff they did, like all that. You know that.
Well, there's a new Plants vs Zombies, but it's another shooter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the shooter did quite well actually, revenue wise.
Yeah, no, it's all right. Yeah, it was okay. I played it. It's just like a half decent Battlefield, basically, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like it had like actual classes and stuff. But I don't know what happened to PopCap.
It's a shame. Yeah, there's just all that. I'm just looking through the list. There was like a lot of good stuff from the 360 generation that came from EA. Yeah, there was all those Mass Effect games, obviously. Yeah, they all came out. There's the Dead Space series. I mean, that was maybe 3 wasn't that great, but
that
the
was
others
another one.
bad.
Yeah.
There was a whole bunch of stuff, and then they kind of decided they didn't want to do that anymore. It's it's a shame. Okay, and that's it. That's the last story.
Wicked. Let's talk about what we've been playing. From what I can see in the doc, it is essentially a repeat of last week.
Kind of, although I finished Quantum Break, so there is that.
Yeah. We've not mentioned that. So, yeah, James, you finished Quantum Break, and Matt, you finished Blooders.
I did, but Blood was done. But let's hear about Quantum Break first. James, you've been playing it for 5 weeks.
Yeah, let's go for the real headline.
It feels like 5 years. Give us a full James Farley review.
Well, it's a shame because this is a game that I went into thinking that it might be something that would be more fun after the other games that I played, but it's ended up being worse than most of the other games I've streamed. Now, I think, but then not in a good way. That's the problem, because a lot of the games I've played on stream, they've been reasonably good choices because of the fact that there's something to interact with, there's something that you can play off. But with this game, there is so little that I could work with, and that was one of the reasons that it made it really difficult to stream. I mean, there's probably an interesting story in there somewhere with this game, but the way that it's communicated isn't great. I mean, partly that's my fault, because when you are walking around, there's all notes that you can read and computers notes and all that kind of stuff that you can go through, which fleshes out the whole world. I'm sure that absolutely happens. But if you're playing on stream, you can't really do that. You can't just sit there for a while reading through a whole ton of notes and everything. So what is communicated to you outside of that wasn't enough to really make me feel like I wanted to pay attention to what was going on, especially during cutscenes and the TV episodes. I mean, this was the game that was supposed to be the first wave of all that sort of TV stuff, where they were this is the future. I mean, it turned out the future was basically just 25-minute long cutscenes. And what is odd about that is the cutscene quality. I mean, what I found interesting about it was the fact that you had two actors that I think they brought in. You had what's it called? I can't remember their names. I only know the one James has called
Littlefinger.
It's Adrian Brody. No, that's probably someone else. Anyway, it's a guy who's Littlefinger in
that's right.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Is it Dominic? Now, Dominic Moynihan, is that the guy? That's the guy from Lord of the Rings. It's not a newsreader, is it? That's someone else.
No, it was one. Anyway, they brought in a couple of people, that would be sort of the stars or whatever of the show. What was really interesting watching that was seeing the golfing quality between the people that were those actors and then other people that they clearly got because they didn't have the budget maybe to completely flesh it out with loads of people. And see, the other thing that I found really interesting about this game, though, was, there's always been this sort of idea of the disconnect between, with Uncharted, people say, well, Nathan Drake, kills hundreds of people. And that's the thing. And even, I mean, in, action TV shows, there's often a lot of shooting, a lot of death and everything, but not quite on the scale you get with video games. Whereas with this, you kind of still had that, of, the scale of the death of shooting people in the game, but also in the TV stuff as well. And so it was there was this really weird disconnect between, you'd have the situation where there was a lot of murder going on, a lot of killing going on, and it was it was nothing because obviously it was part of the game. But then if somebody significant died, then everyone was kind of oh, this is terrible, what's happened? And so it really highlighted that disconnect that you get with games of the murder sort of aspect to it.
Yeah.
But it was just such a bland game. That was the main problem with this. I mean, the combat was the only good thing about it, but then that was ruined completely by these horrible bullet sponge enemies, whereby you can kind of tell that they thought, okay, we've got an interesting system here that works quite quite well with like being able to freeze time, being able to sort of run really fast so you can like sort of get around people and stuff. But then obviously it makes the combat a bit easy, like a bit too easy. So obviously the best way to deal with that is by putting in enemies that just take like about 7 clips or whatever to kill for no reason. And it was brilliant. That was just really not fun at all. But then the worst aspect of the game absolutely was the exploration, because you had lots of like levels where before the story would progress you had to like figure out, I mean, one of them I got stuck trying to get inside a library for 20 minutes because I couldn't figure out how to get in. That was partly my fault because I'd forgotten the controls. I'd forgotten like what you were supposed to do. But then there was parts also where I got annoyed because you had to do like these puzzles, like that were like sort of time-based puzzles. But ironically, there should have been more of those, because that would have made it much more interesting if they'd have had. Because the whole concept of the game was this idea of time travel, freezing time, and everything. And they chucked in a couple of those puzzles where it was things like, you've got to like shift time backwards when this. When there was like a bridge existed and now it's collapsed, so you've got to shift it back, and then you've got to, like use an object or whatever to like keep it in place, all that sort of stuff. And that would have made the exploration a lot more interesting, but it just didn't happen very much. It only happened a couple of times. I mean, I was quite pleased about that at the time because I was like, I just want to get through this. But it could have made it more interesting, I think. It was just so bland. It was just one of the blandest games I've ever played. And I mean, the TV stuff, as I said, was funny in places, but it was also just boring with characters that seemed completely pointless. I mean, there was one character, I don't know why he even existed. I mean, at one point, he went into a hospital, murdered a bunch of people because his wife was there, like he was supposed to be protecting her or whatever.
Right.
She's just watched him like strangle somebody with like a electric cable or something. Doesn't seem to have any trouble with any of this, and like just leaves with him. No one seems to have called the police. It was just so many things like that where it was just like, it felt really sort of like C grade, like sort of drama. Yeah. It was it was not great. And I didn't have a good time with it. It was, as I said, the most boring game I've played, I think, on that. It wasn't as bad as Beyond Two Souls. That game is still the worst game I've streamed.
It's funny you say that, James, because on the stream you're like, well, at least the David Cage games were like, funny. And you said this was worse than them, but now you're saying this is still better than a David Cage game.
No, it's still better than Beyond Two Souls. All of the other David Cage games are better than this. In terms of, at least they're entertaining because they're funny. But now there's a different reason though, Matt. You think they're good because you think they're good, not because they're just terrible games that are quite funny to stream. But with this one, I mean, with the thing with Beyond Two Souls is that game made me just want to cry because it was so bad. And it wasn't even funny, it was just really boring. This was similar to that. I mean, at least this had the combat going for it, which was like reasonably fun, entertaining. But that whole idea of like the TV stuff, it's mad, isn't it, when you think about it? Like they thought the best way that we can, develop games in the future is we're going to have like TV episodes with like 25-minute scenes and everything in between where you're not interacting and you're not doing anything. It's
absolutely insane. I obviously, like, that was when like Game of Thrones started, and obviously we've had incredible TV series before, but Game of Thrones felt like one of the first biggies, especially with like the rise of social media and stuff. And I think they thought, hang on, we can have like an amazing game on one hand, but also the TV show that everyone's talking about on the other hand. It's like it's a double win. This could be the new Game of Thrones and the new Uncharted. I think that's what
nobody was talking about Quantum Break TV like around the water cooler.
Yeah, like God, yeah. Just imagine being in work and like, are you guys talking about Quantum Break, the TV show? Have you played the game?
Yeah, are we talking about the game or the TV show? Because
you're missing like half the story, man.
They're both brilliant.
Yeah.
See, this has also made me worried about Control as well.
Well, I was going to say that. Like, I haven't seen much Control, but I've been like, I've been looking forward to it. I like previews and stuff that got people very excited. But I thought, hang on, it's from the same people. Yeah. Watching you play this, I'm like, it sort of dented my enthusiasm somewhat. It's probably very, very unfair. Obviously, there's a massive like gap in terms of, was that like 10 years ago? Well, it's probably less than that, for like 7 years ago that they did Quantum Break. But yeah, I'm the same. Have you seen much of Control then, James?
No, I haven't. I mean, I've seen a couple of what's it called, videos for it, but I've not really. It wasn't something I was really excited about before playing this, and it's now I feel even less excited. Although maybe they would have nailed a lot of aspects, so that it's a lot more interesting. I mean, there was just so much stuff in this that I just found frustrating, like how just simple things like not being able to like climb up onto something which is of a certain height, but then for some things which are the same height you can, and things like that, just because the game wants you to. All just that kind of thing, which makes exploration not fun. If it's like that, because that they're sort of pushing you towards a certain conclusion. But it does have like the branching paths and all that kind of stuff. But because I wasn't really paying attention with the story, because it didn't really grip me, by the end I didn't care like which option I was going. I was just going for the one that looked like it could be funny, and I just got the chat to decide what to do. But no, I just found it. It was not a fun game at all. I mean, that's why next I'm thinking I'm probably doing Until Dawn, because that's the thing people have said that I should go and play. So I think I'm gonna do that.
Well, thinking or definitely.
Pretty much definitely. I think I'm pretty certain I've got it. So I need to check if I've got it, but I'm pretty certain I have, because I think it was on PlayStation Plus before, so I should have it.
Yeah, I think it was. A while back.
I mean, don't forget, James, you got to factor in our Magic the Gathering streams as well. I don't know when you want to do that.
Yeah. So don't get too engrossed in Until Dawn.
Yeah.
So Magic the Gathering and D&D as well. We need to work on that. So
yeah. But I was glad it was over, and I just want to thank anybody that was watching those streams, because it made it far less painful, the fact that I was kind of experiencing it with other people. That was that made it.
Is it true, James, that you're donating all this month's Patreon money to your viewers to say sorry?
No, I don't know where you heard that, Matt. That's definitely not happening.
That's what everyone in the chat was saying.
Okay.
Just as by way of apology. You just okay, went okay, cool. That's what I heard.
And that was it.
Okay.
I mean, I've played that, and I'm still playing Judgment, which I've got nothing more to say. Obviously, it's great.
How far? How are you close to the end of that? Or
I'm on chapter 9 at the moment, and there's 12 chapters. So I think, you see, the trouble is I'm not really rushing it, because I'm really enjoying it. So I don't really want to sort of just push through it just to get to the end. And,
you shouldn't do no.
It's a good one. It's So
it's still steadily improving, or just same level of goodness.
It's just the same level. It's just great. I mean, I enjoy coming home and just playing it for like hours and hours, like every night. I mean, I'm just doing stuff. It's still just a great world to be in.
You see, I've because I put out a tweet the other day just asking people like if there are any sort of under the radar sort of potential Game of the Year contenders that I've not, probably not played, and a few people were like, "Man, Judgment is like probably going to be one of them." But I've got this weird mental block against it, because obviously I started Yakuza 0, and I feel like I should at least try and make some headway into that before playing Judgment. Or do I? Like, I'm worried I'll never go back, basically, if I play Judgment. Is that fair, do you think? Or
it's maybe fair,
are they
but
different enough?
I think they're different enough that I mean, I would say that it's probably not a bad idea to play this one, because because it's also pretty self-contained as well, whereas the other ones have got all that baggage attached to it. So
true, yeah.
But it is like a 30-hour game though. So if you're going to play it, it's like you've got to commit to it, really. I think to get the most out of it.
Yeah. Okay. And so what? And you've played a bit of Fire Emblem, but not enough to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've played it for about maybe 2.5 hours or so. It's not
which
very.
Is
and it's
90%
just
running around the school talking to people.
Exactly, and that isn't really grabbing me at the moment. I mean,
that's fine. It will. I promise.
It's a really slow start, and there's a lot to absorb as well, like right from the start. And
because it's all text, you don't absorb a lot of it anyway. Like, the amount of things I thought I'd read them, but then actually I sort of going through the game, like, hang on a minute, I don't actually know how such and such works, and then realizing that I must have just missed a tutorial. That happens.
See, I'm also missing the weapon triangle thing as well, because it was really simple to understand.
Well, and it is still sort of in there. I've now fully confirmed. I was saying last week. Shall I just talk about Fire Emblem?
Yeah,
it's all I've played this week, so so the weapon triangle system is in there. It's just that it's tied to an ability that you have to equip. So if you, and I sort of touched on this last week. Yeah. So if you're like a sword user, when you get to a certain level in sword proficiency, you'll get an ability that's like called Axe Breaker, which means you do more damage against axes, and I think you're like easier evading against them and stuff as well. And it's the same with the other weapons. So basically, they established that weapon triangle. Why? So obviously the question is, why have they done this? The only thing I can think is that because it's an ability that you have to equip, and you've only got a limited number of slots to fit those abilities in. I think it's to stop you just getting good, like just having a character where you're just good with all 3 weapon types and just absolutely dominating, because then you would give up 3 of your 5 ability slots, which is kind of a waste. So I think it's to just encourage you to specialize a little bit. Yeah. Which is fine, but again, I don't know, maybe just explain that if you're going to change quite a fundamental system to a long-running series. I mean, yeah, it's all I've played this week, and not for a lack of free time. I just haven't played anything else. I've literally like put in another sort of 15 hours into this week.
Oof, nice.
Yeah, it's weird. There are certain things I like less, and others that I like more now. So definitely, I mean, James, what difficulty are you playing on? Have you just gone for normal?
Yeah, I'm just going for normal, yeah.
I'd almost be tempted to say restart on hard.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you know what I'm like? I love an easy mode.
Mm-hmm.
I think like all games should have one. But obviously it's not badged as easy. So yeah, if you haven't played it, you can choose the difficulty, which is like normal and hard, or hardcore, I don't know, something like that. And then you can also choose how the game handles the death of your units. So you can have like casual or normal. Mm-hmm. So basically casual means your units don't actually die in fights. They just sort of go, oh, I'm wounded, I will have to retreat, but then they're fine afterwards. Whereas on like normally the typical Fire Emblem thing is that when a unit dies, it dies forever. Whereas, but now on this you can also set the difficulty of the battles to begin with. So I went with casual in terms of deaths and then normal in terms of difficulty. And it has been very easy. Like I'm still enjoying the fights loads, because I'm still trying to be like as ruthlessly efficient as possible.
Yeah.
And I'm still getting enjoyment out of that, but there's definitely this sense that it's not entirely necessary. And like the AI is just all over the shop, which I assume is because I've put it on normal. Like obviously, you know, programming like a perfect AI for a strategy game is like actually easy, and it's making it sort of believably fallible. That's quite difficult. But it's like sometimes units will just like run in weird directions, and it's not really clear what they're trying to achieve. Mm-hmm. Or they'll stand in they'll have the choice between standing in, you know, some trees, which gives them a defensive advantage, or not doing that. And they'll choose to not do it. And you're like, that's really stupid. Why have you done that? So that is taking some of the fun out of it, I think. Because I'm just like... Because, you know, Awakening didn't fuck about at all. It's like, if you allowed, like, your healer to be exposed, like, all the enemies would go for it immediately and kill them.
Yeah.
Like, there was just no two ways about it. Whereas in this, you can kind of be like, I'll just let some of these units wander off. It's probably not a huge problem. And yeah, it looks like, I think you can turn the difficulty down mid-campaign, but you can't turn it up. So, I mean, you know, now that I'm like 30 hours in, it's now getting difficult enough that it's not really a problem. But certainly for that first half of the game, I have like waltzed through it. Like, it's not difficult.
Do you think difficult. For me, someone who hasn't played a proper Fire Emblem game, that I should just stick on normal?
Probably stick on normal, yeah.
I've started on normal.
Because... Obviously, part of the reason I've found it as easy as I have is, like I say, because I'm still taking it seriously. I'm not, like, you know, I am like thinking way too much about like, you know, what skills I'm giving my units and stuff, and what equipment, and managing all that stuff like as perfectly as I can. So maybe it's just like the normal mode sort of expects you to be a bit rough on that stuff to begin with, and maybe, you know, not give yourself a huge head start. Like maybe that's what I've done. Like, it's not a problem. Like, I'm still, like, absolutely loving it. But it is getting, like, it's like I say, so now that the difficulty is actually picking up, I am like, oh, this is actually, like, even more engaging than it has been. So that's been weird. That said, the story is actually pretty brilliant, which I wasn't expecting. Like, again, I was enjoying it enough, and I was enjoying the interactions between the characters and building up the friendship levels. And all that stuff. Like I liked a lot of the characters, even though some of them were kind of sort of slightly dull archetypes. They're all like interesting enough. But yeah, like the overall story has become way more interesting than I expected. Basically, the game's split into, I think, 2 parts. Because I was getting really confused. I was like 25 hours in, and it was still like part 1, and I was like, what? How big is each fucking part? And now I realise I think it is just basically two halves. And yeah, the second half is absolutely nuts. Like the stuff that happens in between the two is like properly amazing. And I sort of wish I'd known that was coming to an extent, because I was like towards the end of the first half, I was getting really wound up. I mean, James, you've probably noticed that like the main character is just weird.
Yes.
Like, like it's like when it sort of goes, oh yeah, like Geralt is your dad, and you're like, is he? What? Like we don't.
Yeah, you see, I messed up one of those things at the beginning with that, because he said, oh, it's like your dad or whatever, and I was like, well, I don't know who this guy is, and it's
you say like he's not my dad, and everyone's like, oh, that's pretty horrible saying that about your dad. It's like, no, I legitimately did not know he was my dad.
Yeah, I think the answer, I can't remember what answer I said, but when I said, they're like, oh, he's got his dad's sense of humour. I was like, no, I think I did just dryly say no. I think I said he's like my captain or whatever instead of my dad.
Yeah, that's what I said.
He's got a sense of humour. This one, it's like, no, who is this guy?
Yeah, and it does the stupid fucking anime thing of like just absolutely not relying upon you to pick up on signals, and having characters being like, oh, what could that possibly mean? Oh, I must tell them about this big secret that I've got soon before it's too late. And then guess what? Like the amount of times it teases like someone like about to tell you something really important, or you're about to find out something really important, and then, oh no, there's been an emergency, or oh no, someone's been killed. But like, just don't worry about that shit. Like the origin of the main character is not the most interesting thing that happens. Like, without spoiling it, you'll remember last week I was saying it's not really about the conflict between the three houses.
Yeah.
That is not the case. But again, like even saying that isn't really spoiling it, because the way it all sort of plays out is just way more interesting than you would think. So yeah, I've been like properly impressed by that. And yeah, just broadly speaking, absolutely loving it. Still, I am almost considering doing a run through with like one of the other houses now. I actually might do a New Game Plus run. That's how bad it's got. So
yeah, I didn't listen to it, but someone told me that on the Eurogamer podcast, they said that you should probably start with you should probably save the Black Eagles for your second one for some like gameplay reason. I don't think they didn't want to spoil it, but that's what I've gone with. But
certainly that's again, not spoiling anything, but that I am fascinated to find out how it works if you play as them instead, due to certain story events.
See, I went with the Blue Lions because I just thought, because I knew you were going with is it Golden Deer you've gone with, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought Matt's gone with Black Eagles, so I thought I'd go with the other one.
So we've all gone different ones, yeah.
That's okay. That's good. Yeah, I'd be really interested to hear how that pans out.
Yeah, I haven't played much this week, but this is just what I played. My game clock says 4 hours, but I've mostly been like walking around the school. The college, whatever it is,
Hogwarts,
Monastery, and talking to everyone I possibly could. I've really enjoyed that, actually. I know you were saying you find it a bit tough going, James, but I've really enjoyed sort of getting to know people. And I'm doing sort of the mock battle, so I'm like, it says 4 hours. I'm probably like an hour probably in, but I've been taking my time. But I've enjoyed what I've played so far, and it feels like there's a lot to get my head around, especially as someone who hasn't played a proper, in inverted commas, Fire Emblem game before. So there's a lot of systems. There's a lot of menus and pop-ups with things you've got to remember here, there, and everywhere. But and like the sort of the relationship side, I didn't think. I mean, already I had to catch fish and get ingredients for food. Is this like a big part of this game, or is it just for this new one they've sort of added? What feels like have not played it, like Persona gameplay.
This does feel. See, to me, this feels quite a lot more complex than Awakenings did in terms of all the things that you can do and all the stuff. And for that reason, it didn't feel quite as accessible to me, like so far. But then I really think that's because I need to sit down and I need to play this for an extended period of time, and I just haven't had time to do that this week. And
that's fair.
Try and get into it.
Like, definitely don't overlook like the meal stuff and stuff like that, because it teaches you how it works. It's like, oh, you can pick some of your crew and then pick a meal and then have food together, and it'll like increase your social bonds and stuff. And their enthusiasm, whatever they call it, the thing that basically dictates how much they can learn in a given month. And yeah, it turns out the impact it has is actually quite massive. So you do, get into the routine of like making sure you eat with some of your students. Like some months I'll go like, right, I'll explore the monastery, literally just go straight to the canteen and just sit down and have like 5 straight meals with different students just to like improve stuff. But yeah, all that stuff is worth engaging with. Like it's all optional enough. Like I don't really do the fishing, but I do the gardening and the sitting down, having meals and running around talking to people. But yeah, the only other thing that has been weirdly, I don't know if it's disappointing or not, because I think it will pay off in other ways. You know, I was saying, I mean, obviously, James, you played it. So in Awakening, if you have units placed adjacent to each other on the battlefield, when one of them gets into combat, depending on their sort of relationship, how good mates they are, it will increase the odds that like the person who stood next to them will actually assist in combat.
Yeah.
That doesn't actually happen in this.
No, I mean, you can do like rally, can't you? And stuff like that, but that seemed to be about the extent of it.
Yeah. What you can do later on is you can you can give units an adjutant, which is basically another unit that is just permanently attached to them for that battle.
Mm-hmm.
So they are just paired up. And I think that's to address, I was saying last week, the problem that other Fire Emblem games have where you've got like twice as many units as you can actually take into battle.
Mm-hmm.
I think the idea is that, you can have people, like, you can basically allows you to essentially take more people into battle.
Sure. Can I ask you a question? This is about the systems thing. What is the point of battalions? How does that work?
Battalions are really interesting. They're just a cool way of fleshing out like your existing abilities. So they tend to be sort of status effects and stuff. They're essentially like equipable, they're basically like a piece of gear that you can equip that just happens to be like a squad of people that follows a unit around.
Mm-hmm.
Authority is a stat or a skill rather, same as like, sword or axe or whatever. So you can have people who are just really good at commanding battalions, so they get sort of, better use out of them. And they do things like they can inflict poison, or they can do like area of effect attacks, which can be really useful and stuff like that. I've not delved into them properly. I haven't got a character where I've just like, right, I want this person to just be really good at commanding battalions. But it's potentially a really interesting system. Okay. But the adjutant thing, so you get 2 people to really like each other, and then you can just pair them up like permanently. But you're quite limited in how many people you can do that with. Like when you first get the ability, you can do 1 adjutant, and now I'm up to 2. And I'm like, I don't know, for that system to really be interesting, I'm going to need like quite a few more, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, we'll see. One thing I didn't realise when I first started playing this, I don't know if you clocked this, James, like the little battle sequences felt very Dynasty Warriors to me, like the way they're presented and stuff. I didn't realise Tecmo Koei worked on this.
Yes,
in fact,
I read that the other week.
Yeah, they actually did most of it. Apparently Intelligent Systems basically oversaw it.
Yeah.
But most of it was actually made by Tecmo Koei, which, I mean, I'm all up for, because I really like Dynasty Warriors. Not that it plays like a Dynasty Warriors game at all, but it's interesting.
What do you think? I mean, what do you think of the visual style, though? Because I still kind of miss like the Awakening style. There's
definitely there's no like, I mean, there's not really a style, is there? It is just like there's a bit of cell shading, but basically they just look like anime people. Whereas like Awakening, there was like a certain aesthetic to it with the weird pointy feet and stuff.
Yeah.
So I know what you mean. I do miss that to an extent. Like it doesn't look stunning. Some of the locations are like really impressive. And like I said, I do really enjoy the battle animations and stuff. Like like it's exciting enough seeing them play out. Like when your guy sort of dodges an attack that should have killed them and then ended up killing the other person or whatever. I think they look really good. But I know what you mean. And it's really obvious, like when if you're playing it on TV and if you like pay attention, you can really see how the detail scaling changes a lot.
Yeah.
It's really weird. Like you can see the shading and the texture detail just change on units and stuff quite a lot. But it's on Switch, innit? It's not a real console.
Well, no, but this is what's weird though, because this is the first game though that I've been playing on Switch where I've heard the fans keep kicking in all the time. I've not had that before. It's
It's obviously pushing it pretty hard, but yeah.
But it's still fine, yeah.
Yeah. So I've played a shitload more of it. I'm not going to stop anytime soon. As I've played on, I've uncovered some things I don't like so much and some that I really do. So overall, still ace.
One of the things that sort of annoyed me about it is that there's two different types of cutscenes. There's like the anime style, proper anime, like little cutscene, and then there's also like the in-game style in-engine ones.
Yeah, like, and the latter are a bit rubbish.
Well, it's not that, like, basically one of them you can pause. By pressing the plus thing, and the other time the plus button skips that cutscene. So I have to go back to YouTube and like rewatch stuff because like, I just want to pause this because Energy did something or I had to like stop for whatever reason. And it's like, well, why can't I pause on every cutscene? It's like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that is in 2019. There is no excuse for that.
I'm really impressed when they say, you can pause cutscenes. Cutscenes, brilliant, but then don't make it so the same button then skips the next one. Yeah. That really annoyed me, but I can't wait to play much more this week. I'm going to sink as much time as I can.
Cool.
So you don't see yourself stopping, and Sean, you're embracing the story. You love the gameplay.
Well keen to get it done, and obviously now I'm like, there is a season pass.
Really? So is there going to be more stuff yet?
Yeah. So I'm excited. And it's like obviously it's a nice feeling to be like, I want this game to get really difficult now. Because of like I've engaged with it, like, you know, on all available levels, and I'm like to the point that I'm sort of finding it a bit easier, and now I'm like, no, I'm ready for this to get really tough.
I mean, as I said, I'm only not that far into it at all, but I have found that I'm not even trying. Like, if you know what I mean, with the missions, and it's like it doesn't feel difficult at all. Like I haven't lost anyone or anything at all. It's felt pretty easy. But
like the way I play it at the moment is that if I can't kill an enemy in one hit, I don't engage in combat with them. I will find a way to basically eliminate all risk if I can.
Yeah.
But then I'm enjoying doing that. Like, you know. So it's like it's still enjoyable to not be sloppy with it, but it's not an absolute necessity. So I don't know. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe I should shut up. I don't know. I think it's just because I'm used to as you said, Awakening is quite unforgiving, and it does sort of force you to get better, whereas this is much more gradual.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that is it. That is all I've played. Matt, have you got?
I finished Bloodborne.
Hey!
It's a total surprise. I obviously been playing.
Did you nail like 3 or 4 bosses in one stream?
Well, it's 5 bosses actually.
Oh, 5! Jesus Christ!
But I have been struggling with Orphan of Kos for the last stream and a half. So I was really determined to get through that. After like 20 minutes, half an hour of Sunday, so last night's stream, I got rid of him. That was amazing. I'm so happy. I really struggled on that thing. And then I was on such a high of that okay, now do this boss, and I knew I was like nearish the end, but because someone a poo in chat said, you got like 3 here and 1 from the DLC or 2 from the DLC and 3 there. Like that doesn't really like play into my mind, because one in inverted commas easy boss could theoretically last me 3 streams because I'm so bad at it. So I don't think, hang on, 3 or 4 bosses or 5 bosses I can get done in a stream. It's not about that because I struggle on so much. But Matt,
were you using a Game Shark? Come on.
I was using Game Genie, yeah. So but I just got through it. I mean, I think towards the end, I guess I was overpowered because I was getting through bosses much more simply. Having said that, I still struggled obviously on costs and some others, so I wasn't like flying through them. But I finished Bloodborne. I finished the DLC.
Awesome.
And the game obviously on last night, because the DLC is so difficult. That's very much an end game thing anyway.
Yeah.
So I killed like the last 2 bosses I think from the DLC, and then I did all the ones in the main game, and I got the umbilical cords. There's 4 you can collect in total, but once you collect 3 and above, you get this other boss after the final boss. So I did that as well, and it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome.
I will say, maybe I said this on stream, it'll probably take me like a few weeks to really sort of think about it and step back and think. But I think right now my favourite is still Dark Souls over this. I think probably because it's my first one, so it's special in that regard. I think what Bloodborne nails is the boss design is absolutely incredible. Maybe it's because visually it goes on PS4. There's much more detail, so they're like their visions of these bosses can be visualized in much greater detail. But the last few I did were absolutely stunning to look at, like. Amazing, like them alone. I mean, and there were some great ones beforehand, of course, but them alone sort of makes me want to get like a Art of Bloodborne book or something, or watch a documentary, because the design of the bosses is absolutely stunning, stunning. I think that beats Dark Souls in that regard. I think it's got a really strong aesthetic for the whole game. I think the game looks fantastic, and it's such a cohesive aesthetic throughout the whole game. But I do feel like I prefer the variety of locations in Dark Souls. I feel like I really was visiting lots of very, very different locations in Dark Souls. Whereas this, it was all of a theme, which makes sense and it works, and it's very, very cohesive in that regard. But I think I preferred... I feel like I travelled a lot more in Dark Souls, and even like from one area to the next, even if they're next to each other, like going to Blight Town or Depths or this and the other, it all felt, very different. It felt like I really was exploring and sort of having an adventure around that environment. Whereas Bloodborne, like I found myself getting lost a lot or not knowing where like places were, and this is after like 60 hours, because a lot of the streets feel quite similar. Whereas with Dark Souls, I feel like I could navigate it on memory alone. So I feel like it doesn't quite nail it as much as Dark Souls in that regard. But again, maybe Dark Souls is special because it's my first one.
It freaks me out how I can walk around the entirety of Dark Souls in my head.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
definitely.
You can be like, all right, so from Firelink, I walk down there, and because it makes you repeat so many bits, and as you say, because a lot of it is quite distinctive.
And I guess
it's
also
really memorable. Whereas Bloodborne is, I think, by design, it's supposed to be a bit of a labyrinth, but it's not as memorable in the same way.
Yeah, and because obviously in Bloodborne you can go to Hunter's Dream and then you like warp from place to place. You don't walk around everywhere. So whereas in Dark Souls I was having to physically go on foot from place to place, and that's how I will learn my way around. With this, I just go to the nearest lamp, warp to Hunter's Dream, walk back. So so there wasn't really much exploring in that regard. So when I suddenly had to like walk through down some steps or walk through a certain part of the map to get to the nearest lamp or some other location, I found that quite difficult. But no, amazing game. I'm really, 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 really happy I played it. And it's excellent. I'm glad I got through it.
Cool.
I'm going to be playing... My next game I'm going to be playing this Sunday, actually, is Night in the Woods.
Oh, shit.
Perhaps you're familiar with it.
Well, you can start from scratch, or...
Yeah, well, I have to because my save file on Steam, I lost it. Hence me not being able to finish a game, and I loved it, but...
Hang on, but Matt, the only problem with you playing this is that you already know the ending because you watched it on YouTube.
I didn't. I just read a bit. That's why I couldn't really describe it, and that's why I made out it was quite difficult to get my head around. Yeah, I wonder how far I was. I basically, have you two both played it?
Yeah, finished it.
Okay, so I did like two travels or trips through the woods. Like I know my game flow was like 4 hours. I think the game itself was probably 4 hours. So clearly I was taking my sweet time with it. But do you happen to know how far I might have got through it, having gone through the woods twice? Does that ring a bell?
I can't remember. No,
sorry.
Anyway, so I'm excited to get off my plate. That's this Sunday at 8:30. I'm going to be playing a much more relaxed game. After that, I was thinking, maybe I go to like another FromSoft game. People are like, no, I think you need a break. I think you need a longer break than just one 4-hour indie game. So who knows what I'll play next.
I've just checked how long to beat. It's more like 8.5 hours.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah. A completionist, 23.
Okay, that makes me feel a lot better, because I really thought I must have been really close to the end, and then the save file got fucked up. Okay, 8 hours, that's a bit better.
I have had an idea, Matt, about what we could do, actually. Maybe... maybe shall I talk about it on here? What do you think?
Yeah.
Well,
let's workshop it.
After you've done Night in the Woods, why don't we do that Wolfenstein game that came out recently? We could do that on a Sunday.
Well, I've heard it's shit.
Well, no, but that... So?
Is that okay? All right. Well, I suppose it doesn't stop me normally.
Just play Quantum Break.
No, I mean, by all means, do a co-op stream. I was just wondering if maybe you want to pick something else.
Well,
we still got Alex Kidd we need to get through.
There is that as well. Yeah, I mean,
on my plate.
I'd be more than happy to play that. To talk with you while you play that.
Okay, well, let's do Alex Kidd first, because that needs to go off my plate after like 23 years, and then we'll do Wolfenstein.
Hang on. Are you saying you're going to finish Alex Kidd?
Well, I'm not going to start it and not finish it.
Matt, you're a madman.
Are you saying... Because when the idea of me playing Alex Kidd and finally like beating it, I was like, I'm actually more nervous for this than I was like Bloodborne or Dark Souls.
Yeah, because it's harder than Bloodborne or Dark Souls, that's why.
Well, I'll just have to I'll keep trying. Actually, when
but it depends if you're going to play it with save states or not. I mean, if you're going to use save states, no problem. But if you're going to play it as it was originally came out, we're going to be here for months. Seriously.
I'm just going to play it. I'm just going to play it on like the Xbox. Save state? That feels like is that not a PC thing or what?
No, you can do it on Xbox as well. You can do it on any re-release. They always do that now.
So what? So the idea is when I die, I can just like go back to that level again. Is that?
Well, no, you can just save. You can just save wherever you want and then like reload it.
Oh right. Yeah, I never thought about that. Right. I like to do it the way nature intended, so
that's going to go out the window pretty quickly. Because
well, if that's the case, then I'll tell you what's going to happen, right? I'm going to say, guys, I'm not going to do it save states. I'm going to play it how nature intended. I'll try. I'll fail, and then everyone in the chat will be like, "Look, just do the save states, Matt. We've been here, 7 months. Just do it," and I'll do it, and it'll be a worse feeling than summoning for Ornstein and Smo. So I'm not going to put myself through that.
I'm really looking forward to this now because this is going to be very funny. It's to watch because I mean I bought it again recently on Switch and. Like, just because of the nostalgia kind of thing.
Yeah, I saw you playing it, yeah.
Yeah, it's not... It's a very unforgiving game. Let's put it that way. It's, yeah. I mean, just doing the Yankum matches is, like, insane. Like, just the randomness of the whole thing. It's going to be... Yeah, okay. We definitely do that. Yeah, that'd be funny.
Yeah. When we thought about doing it, I texted my sister, because... we played that a lot when I was young. I was like, I'm going to stream Alex Kidd. She says, you'll never finish that game. I was like, what the I will. I bloody well will. Well,
see, I finished it when I was 10, but it took me about 3 years of just doing it over and over and over again before I managed it. It's insane.
Yeah, I never finished it. But anyway, I'm going to get... Yeah, so I'll play Night in the Woods this Sunday from 8:30, and we'll get that done over a few streams, and then Thomas, if listening, James and I will be streaming Alex Kidd. I know we promised that in the past, but it needs to happen. Anyway, Bloodborne's amazing. Really glad I played that. Very excited to play more Fire Emblem in the week as well, because I've been loving what I've been playing so far. And that's pretty much it this week.
Cool. Emails then.
If you want to email us, it's podcast@thecomputergameshow.com. Tom Durbin has written in. He said, good evening, you magnificent specimens. Recently, I've been losing myself in the wonderful Slay the Spire. It ticks all my boxes.
Whoa, hang on. Is this is last week's email, is it not?
Has somebody not put this in?
No, this is new.
Is it new?
Is it?
Yeah,
we don't specimens. I thought, is this a reference to last week's email? Because I'm very sure someone said that, and then James was like, "That's a weird thing to say."
Yeah, I think it's just an intentional callback, which
brilliant.
I just read these out.
Would have come across as really just cool and not not drawing attention to it, but here we are.
No, absolutely not. No.
You see, I don't vaguely remember this.
This is definitely literally last week's email.
Matt,
oh my god, yeah, sorry, it's a game you judge by its cover, but yes, we haven't got any emails.
I've been busy doing other things. I don't know. I think, hang on. I think I did put an email in, or maybe there just weren't any emails this week.
I think there just weren't any emails.
Okay, cool. Well, there you go, James. You got off this week.
All right, okay.
Slay the Spire is very good, Tom Durbin, for the second week running.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, because remember we had the whole conversation about the art being shit and stuff. Yeah, that is from last week.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I thought, I'm glad I wasn't going mad.
I'll just do the tweets. Go on, get on with it.
Tweets then, yeah. God, this is going to be an early bedtime, boys. Let's go.
Just go, Matt. Just get on with it. Do the tweets.
Hang on.
No, I don't want to hang on.
It's not off. It's not actually that bad. Okay,
You're desperately trying to go through the emails, aren't you? Try and find something that you can stick to.
It's all star calls, Matt. No one gives a shit about this anymore.
I went through all the response was star calls. This show is dead in the water. And anything else was basically feedback. So, Yeah, so it's all good. It's all been covered. Let's move on to tweets. I'm purposefully filling now just to try and eke
Stop
out.
it.
Just read the tweets.
SMW says, has Matt applied for a...
this tweet, Sean. SMW says, has Matt applied for Watch Mixer partnership yet? No,
that's right, yeah,
I don't
you
think it's going to happen unless we move the entire thing over to Mixer, and that isn't happening anytime soon.
Cool.
Terrestrial Extra at Terrestrial EXT2 on Twitter. Question for you. Did any of you ever complete /3-star Mario Kart 8 on Switch? And are there any of you still playing? I've been at it for 2+ years and still on mirror tracks. P.S. Matt Murray, I played through with my Mii. Maybe that's the issue.
No, is the answer. I put a lot of time into Mario Kart 8, and I felt like I had enough enjoyment out of it. But I know I never got fully obsessive about 3-starring absolutely everything on it. But don't blame anyone who's still playing it, because it is a banger.
Yeah, I still play it because I play it with the kids. And
of course,
I've not 3-starred everything yet though, because I've just not got around to that. But I've played a lot of it. It's still brilliant. Yeah.
Fair dues.
Nice one. Kurt Lewin at angry_Kurt. What podcast do you listen to these days that aren't gaming?
Ugh, got a massive list of
stuff. Been over this multiple times, but let's start. I mean, obviously,
it's worth revising, isn't it? Every so often.
Football season's back on, so obviously back to Totally Football Show, James, AC Jimbo and Co, and obviously Football Ramble Daily. I mean, most of the other ones get mentioned every week, and people kick off for it. So probably. I'll get through mine before these two find theirs. Obviously, Play One podcast. James is probably going to mention that. The giant. Oh no, Han, these are all gaming.
It's non-gaming ones.
I've answered my question. Then I used to listen to loads of tech ones, but they all got really shit. So I just don't. So it literally is just these days. Mate.
Interface.
I mean, we're tempted, aren't we, James? No, we're not. No, we're not. It's literally just
you guys are just sitting around thinking, do you know what? We haven't got enough stuff to do. Let's just make another podcast.
Some more hours a day. Let's
do another weekly podcast. That's like
Well, I'm actually just thinking Tech Daily.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to listen to loads of tech ones, and I just can't be bothered, or they're just not great anymore. So now it's just football. I mean, I was listening to Clinton Baptiste's Poundal podcast. That it's currently season's over now, but Clinton Baptiste is obviously the character originally from Peter Kay's Phoenix Nights, but he's got 2 series of him as a clairvoyant talking to people. It's absolutely hilarious. That's Clinton Baptiste's Poundal podcast. I absolutely recommend that. That's hilarious.
Cool.
I've got a lot of stuff. I mean, but you see, the thing is most of the stuff I've got is like politics or work related or whatever, because it's all just like China stuff. I've got loads of that. I mean, I'm a big fan of what have I got here? Let's have a look. I mean, obviously Ian Lee, like the Late Night Alternative and the Rabbit Hole. I always listen to those when they come out. But yeah, most of my stuff is all just politics and stuff, and I don't think people would be very interested in that. So
one here, D&D Grandma. Listen to that. Listen to that on Monday for sure. James, John Davison's on a new podcast.
Oh, really? What is it?
I haven't heard it yet, but basically he's on Instagram the other day. Basically, it's a pod called Control Pad, and and sadly, it's like him and Christian Spice and Jeff Kanata and Nick Coles.
No, okay. That's a shame.
But I haven't heard John Davison for ages, so I might give it a go. But the others sort of do my nutting. But
I'm trying to think ones I've not mentioned before. So Off Menu is a very good podcast with James Acaster and Ed Gamble. 2 comedians who are very funny in their own right, just basically interviewing people about their perfect meal, and it is routinely incredibly entertaining. What else? I know I've mentioned it before, but the KCRW Good Food podcast is amazing. It's just such a weird, because I went into it not really knowing what a food podcast would be like, and it's just an interesting mix of stuff. It's everything from talking to chefs about new books they've written and stuff to just going around the farmers market and just talking to farmers about the fact that there's 23 different types of avocado and shit like that. They recently did, because it's been 1 year since a food writer called Jonathan Gold passed away a year ago, and he used to be on the show quite a lot. And he was always a really nice guy, and they did a tribute episode to him, and they repeated that the other week, and it's just a fascinating listen because he was a food writer for the LA Times, And there's this one segment of the show. It's just like 10 minutes of just short clips of like chefs and restaurant owners just being like, yeah, he came in and sat down, and then the next day the place was fucking packed because he wrote about us and made everyone come to our restaurant. And there's just all these people who like owe their entire living to him, basically, like almost in tears, just talking about how amazing he was and how good his writing was and stuff. And so that, like, give that a listen if nothing else. It's just really fascinating.
That's
sad,
two food podcasts you've listed there. Like
that's pretty much it, man. Everything, like, I mean, yeah, like Planet Money is really interesting. I learned the other week that recycling putting plastic in your recycling bin is essentially a waste of time at the moment because China used to buy it all and now they can't be bothered.
So what should I do? Should I just burn it with the tyres I'm doing in the front garden anyway?
Well, this is the sad thing, is that basically they talk about the fact that and to be clear, this isn't like recycling's a waste of time. You get people are like, oh, I read in the Daily Mail that it's like, no, it's not like that. They sort of metal, definitely always recycle metal. Cardboard, yeah, probably a good idea, but they're just at the moment the state of recycling plastic is just absolutely shocking. Like no one buys it, and so a lot of it ends up in landfill anyway, and some of it gets shipped to China only for them to go, nah, it's not clean enough, and then it gets chucked in the ocean anyway after having been shipped halfway around the world. So it's actually arguably better in some cases to just bin it at the moment.
Wow, okay.
So that's pretty depressing.
I'm going to play this to my wife so I don't have to bother taking out the rubbish now every week. Saying, I might as well just throw it in the black bin. No point putting it in the green bin. That's all good. Yeah. Lovely. Thanks, Sean. You saved me a good half an hour there.
They also once did an episode about a man who discovered that there is an extra cut of meat in cows that we didn't know about.
Oh, shit.
And the legality of him trying to patent it. Because it's like, well, you don't own the design of a cow, but also like you've discovered something that makes every cow on the planet technically worth a bit more money. So that's and basically, long story short, he gets the patent. It's just weird stuff like that. That's pretty much all I've got on the go at the moment. And I mentioned like 30, 20, 10 and Laser Time and stuff. They're good.
I really want to listen to that more educational podcast, but I just.
You do, but also then you become that guy in the office that every time someone talks about something like, actually, I was listening to a podcast about this the other week.
There's a few people in the office that, I'm like, okay, I get it. You know everything about everything.
Yeah.
People used to accuse that of me, actually, but
well, there you go.
I've got stupider.
Don't get back into it.
No.
Just, you're better off with that.
Cool. MD Krabuffs on Twitter. Right now, what's your current best game, movie, and beverage?
Don't
know about current. I guess it's like current rather than all time. But
I was going to say, just so obviously, current best game, Fire Emblem. Current best movie?
I don't know. I haven't watched anything for ages.
Have you not watched A Great Hack yet?
No. Oh, no, I haven't. No.
Oh, it's excellent. Yeah, really good.
Oh, it's not. Can I have a TV show?
Yeah, because I want that. I'm saying Chernobyl because I really love that. I thought it was brilliant.
Okay, cool. I've been watching The Boys on Amazon.
I need to watch that. Well, what sort of show is that again? Because I've seen loads of people talk about it. But
so it's an adaptation of a Garth Ennis comic book series, and like Garth Ennis is a weird one in that I don't know if you've read like Preacher or anything else.
I've read nothing really.
Basically, he makes comics that are really clever, but also really stupidly gratuitous. And he's like just clever enough that he gets away with the gratuitous shit. But you sort of wish he still didn't do that stuff. So we've already had an adaptation of Preacher, which was okay. And now, they're adapting the series The Boys, which is basically, it takes this really interesting angle that it's like, if superpowers existed, supervillains wouldn't be a thing because who could be fucking bothered? Right? It's like all you would get was people publicly being heroes, quote unquote, but actually being total fuckers in their private lives. And like, because that would just be way easier, because why have the hassle of getting the entire world against you? Like there are plenty of real life villains who are perfectly legitimized, but they just get away with loads of horrible shit. And so it kind of looks at that. And so the boys, the main characters, are this like team who basically like take down superheroes when they step out of line. And so the TV show has changed a lot of things, but probably for the better. Like when I was sort of because Noo's been watching it with me and she's been really enjoying it. And I sort of had a chat with her about all the things they've changed from the books. And just like every single one, I was just like cringing at like, oh, yeah, well, in the books, like this happened and it was loads. But like the show's still like really gross at times and like really quite horrific. It's just not quite as obviously gleeful about it as the books were. So yeah, that's on Amazon Prime and it's fucking great. Like it's really good. Carl Urban is the main guy in it. And he's
it's called, is it called The Boys, you said?
The Boys, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, proper good. Have a look.
Will do.
And James, you're enjoying Chernobyl. I've still not watched that.
It's great. I really enjoy it. Yeah,
I've heard it is actually stunning, but it's like super grim as well, right?
Yeah, but
I mean, realistically, so
amazing,
not like
yeah.
I kept my Now TV subscription after Game of Thrones ending because I was like, I know I need to watch Chernobyl, and then just never did, and still have the sub, so I need to make a decision one way or the other.
Do you know? I still need to watch the Deadwood film as well.
Oh god, see, I never finished watching Deadwood, which I know I should.
Oh man, yeah, Deadwood. That was one of my favourite series ever, and but I still, it's one of those things I keep meaning to watch it, but it's also there for me to watch at some time. Do you know what I mean? It's like I can wait to see that at some point.
Except it will actually just disappear one day because that's how things work.
That's true.
Yeah. Beverage.
Don't know. Trying not to drink these days.
Well, yeah, this is it. I'm still just on the Cherry Pepsi Max, mate, trying not to die of sugar.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, it's not my favourite drink, but I can have as many of them as I want, and it won't kill me, hopefully.
Can you?
More or less. I mean, within reason.
I never know. When these drinks say, like, zero sugar, like, I mean...
It's still got to be bad for you in some way, isn't it? Because that's the way...
Because the thing with sweeteners is that you don't digest them. So they give you the shits if you have too much of them because they are literally just flying through you.
And so that's what you do. You're like, well, I haven't had a shit yet, so I'm fine. I've had too much. I'm shitting. Yeah. Is that what you do?
I mean, it's never bothered me, but I know people who can't have too many or they just get diarrhea, basically. There were studies that initially, like in the 70s, were like, they might give you cancer, and then that has since been disproven.
Yeah, because the sweetener they use, they always say it's like one of the most studied like substances that exists because everyone's always been obsessed about this. I'm always just saying,
because the drinks companies knew that the anti-sugar wave was coming, so they wanted to make sure they had their alternative in place, I think. Which is why, and like the sugar tax, I know like when that happened, everyone was like, technically it's pretty shitty and classist, but fuck me, it's worked. Like most places just serve sugar-free stuff as the default now, and as a slightly fat man who had a really bad sugar problem, sort of thankful of that, to be honest.
See, sugar's never been my problem.
It's a bit of a shame when you go to McDonald's and like you've got, is it like Coke? What a Coke Zero, whatever. It just doesn't taste as nice as.
Oh, it's definitely not as nice for sure. I hate most sugar-free stuff. Cherry Pepsi Max is the only one I can stand, and even then, I have to sort of.
I think with a lot of these,
what real sugar's like.
It becomes like an acquired taste though as well. Like once,
I'll get used to it, I guess.
Oh yeah, and like because now, like when I have something with actual sugar in it, it's like holy fuck, this is the best thing I've ever tasted.
Yeah.
Which is how it should be. It should be a treat. It shouldn't just be like every day.
I mean, I've got a Diet Coke addiction problem, which I've had for like years and years and years now. And I know
how many cans you're on.
Not that many actually. Only maybe 1 or 2 a day now, which I don't think is that bad. I mean,
fine.
I usually go for like trying to keep it to like 1. But like a long time ago, I used to drink a lot more than that of it, and it's one of those things where like if Chen drinks it, she's like, "This is disgusting. I don't know. You can drink this," and it's just, and it's true. It's not. But then the thing is, once you get used to that taste, it does. It's very addictive. Yeah, that taste.
What was that tweet that was doing the rounds where someone was like, "I don't know why they keep trying to come up with new flavors of Diet Coke." The original flavour, chemicals, was absolutely fine.
Exactly. That's all it is, And you see, I'm not a fan of Coke Zero because it tastes too... the chemicals in that taste too strong to me. Like, it's a bit too much. But yeah.
Matt? Speaking of sugar, have you guys seen that there's a Super Size Me 2? I don't know actually what it's called. But Morgan Spurlock's making a second one, basically, where he opens up his own... chicken, like a KFC type thing, really. But I think he's trying to do it as healthy as possible, or he's literally always trying to see the process in which it's. I can't remember what it's called. I think it might be Super Size Me 2, and he's got a colon and something involving chicken. But I love the first one. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Favorite game? I mean, current best game. I still think about Outer Wilds weekly. So Outer Wilds probably. Obviously, I'm playing Fire Emblem. Yep. Movie. The Great Hacks on Netflix. I absolutely recommend it. It's really fascinating to see how we're getting screwed over our data. We knew anyway, but anyway. And beverage. I mean, I've cut down on my drinking so much. You guys will be proud of me. At one point, I was having at least a 6-pack. I mean, at least a 6-pack of beer a week, but that was like the sort of the free for e-meal cans. So in my head, I was like, well, what's one or two of them a night gonna do? I started drinking 2 cans of Coke, as we've just discussed. But I was basically doing like probably 1 to 1.5 of those packs a week. And I'll do like a couple during a pod, a couple during a stream. Another one if a day of the week ends in a Y. And but now I'm on like 1 or less than 1 a week. I don't mean 1 box. I mean like maybe 1 pint after work on a Friday. That's it. Having said that, current favourite drink, if you want to get like a nice summer beverage, Camden Hell's Strawberry Forever Lager is absolutely gorgeous. It's a perfect taste of summer in a can. Nice. Absolutely recommend that. But yeah, I just don't really drink beer anymore. Save so much money saved.
See, I only do like 2 or 3 bottles a week, I think. Yeah, I mean, like 330 milliliter like size. I don't really think that's excessive. It's.
I don't think. I mean, I still wouldn't say I had a problem, but I also thought, one or two of them a night, and it wasn't every night. But I was like, well, what's that going to do? But I guess ultimately it wasn't good for me, and I definitely feel better for not doing it. But
I'll tell you what else. Old Moot do a really nice alcohol-free like berry cider. Proper good.
I quit alcohol properly for like 6 months a few years ago because of a hospital thing, and I tried every one of those 0% beers, and I think Bavaria was the best. Or now I think Nanny State, the Brewdog one was okay. But
when New was pregnant, she went through shitloads of that.
Yeah, that was all right. Bavaria was okay, but like most others were horrible. Like Beck's Blue was like that was giving me hangovers and headaches, and it was alcohol free. It was revolting. Well, was it what you just mentioned? Sorry, Sean.
Old Moot. They do a lot of like fruity ciders. Yeah, they do a really nice alcohol-free berry one. I always forget that like when I'm looking for posh soft drinks, it's worth like there's a difference between the posh soft drink bit of the supermarket and the alcohol-free bit of the alcohol bit of the supermarket.
Yeah,
like because they can't. Like an alcohol-free cider can't just be put next to Pepsi because it still looks like booze, and there's like this worry that it'll like encourage, it'll be like a gateway for kids.
It's a gateway drug.
So you forget that there's other stuff tucked away in the actual booze aisle. But yeah, I think Brewdog. I mean, Brewdog do my fucking head in as a company, but they do. I think there's like a raspberry one they do now as well, which is apparently really good.
Oh right, yeah. Maybe I'll investigate that. Because I was drinking water during my streams, and it's fine. I mean,
to be fair, you forget the value of a good glass of water. Just,
my first answer was going to be water.
Do you know when you when you realise that if you're going to have a big meal, just starting with a big glass of water just makes it so much easier? Do you ever find
I don't do that.
Mate, massive glass of water before a big meal, and you just won't feel half as shit by the end of it.
Oh, really? I've never thought of that.
Yeah, apparently it's like a massive like digestive aid.
Okay.
And big glass of water before bed as well, but not too many, or else you'll piss yourself all night.
Yeah, I used to do that when I was like sick of going off in the night to go for a piss. Yeah.
Yep.
I did that because this is going to make me sound silly, but who cares? I used to read Heat magazine a lot when I was younger. It was a big thing. I don't quite know why. Very metrosexual back in the day. So what?
Why'd you read that?
I don't know what I love all that celebrity stuff. So
I was going to say, why is it surprised you that Matt was into celeb?
Yeah, I used to love Heat magazine. Yeah. And also Torso of the Week, James. Come on, I'm not stupid. And I'm Rachel Stevens, formerly of S Club 7. That was one of her tips: drink a pint of water a night before bed. And I was like, that's a great idea, Rachel Stevens from S Club 7. I'll do that. Yeah. And then the pissing was mental, so I had to stop. So,
and that was with a teenager's bladder. Never mind the one you've got now.
I know. Imagine. Anyway, I mean, James is probably sick of this filling.
Yep.
Are you livid?
I was genuinely enjoying this. Sorry, the last lot will be quickfire ones. Let's go.
Yeah, definitely. Oodles Odim, cast your minds back to the past gens, PS3, 360, and Wii, and even further, PS2 and Xbox. Which past gen title simply fell off the face of the earth would you like to see resurrected, and by which dev team? For me, it has to be PSIOPS or PSYOPS.
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 Yeah, PSYOPS is a good game.
I prefer the second Sight. But Silence was good.
Oh, I remember Second Sight. Yeah.
What was the one on the Xbox? I think it was just called Breakdown, and it was like one of the first games to just be like, this entire thing is first person, and all the cutscenes were first person. At the time, that was really shocking and weird.
Oh wow, I don't remember that.
Yeah, and it was like this weird sort of first person like fighting game, and it was just really strange and good. Like, because you forget that, like, so like it's like first person melee, and you're like having punch ups with people, and like if someone punched you and like properly sent you reeling, like your view would just be like just flying round, and you're like, fuck, it's like actually being in a person. It's like actually getting my shit kicked. It's just really fucking...
Like actually being in a person.
Yeah. Imagine that. But it was pretty ropey. So yes, redo that, but make it actually really good.
Yeah, that sounds great. How about you, James?
See, I was thinking about this. I'll tell you what I'd like to see return. Maybe not Splinter Cell, but is Prince of Persia.
Oh yeah.
Because that's a series which seems to have just disappeared now. They don't seem to be interested.
It's strange. Yeah, like it reinvented like the 3D platformer.
Yeah,
and then they did a shit one, and then they did a better one again, and then one that was completely different, and then a rubbish one based on the film. And it's just like Sands of Time was like such like this amazing reinvention. Like, oh my god, this is how Prince of Persia games work now.
Yeah,
and then they just proceeded to repeatedly lose their way in several different directions.
Especially when they went. I remember Warrior Within, where it all just went like grimdark and all that kind of thing, and it was just really depressing. Like the whole thing.
So embarrassing, that game.
Yeah.
Weird
How
series.
About,
I mean,
Mashed Fully Loaded, which is still one of my favourite games of all time. You guys familiar with it? It's like the Micro Machine style game.
I mean, that sort of has continued, right? There's definitely like more recent takes on it. I don't know if they're as good.
There was a Micro Machines game that came out this generation, but it was really bad. It was It was the only game that I asked for a refund on. Like, it was as a digital download from Microsoft, because I was just like, this is so bad, I don't want to play this. It's awful.
Shame.
That's a Mash Reloaded, please. I mean, like, everyone just played that one ice level, but I just want that. Just give me that.
But do you want that game back, or do you want back having several mates in the same room to play games with in the evening?
Well, yeah. I mean that would be nice. But I'd happily play it online. Just give me that level online, and I'll be there. That's all I need.
Yeah.
Thomas at Lamfla42. Patron stretch goal. A series of performance tests. Man versus machine. Which breaks first, Matt or the Xbox 360? And I read that, I thought, imagine a stream where it's just us smashing up old consoles.
I assumed you meant like having to perform tasks and compete against the Xbox 360. We can do the towel trick, Matt. So we run a game on the Xbox 360 while it's wrapped in a towel, and then Matt has to like run like a kilometre whilst wrapped in towels.
Yeah, we can wrap Matt in towels. That'd be good.
And someone has to like put like cotton wool bud things in every
orifice.
Every orifice. So
that would give you a red ring, Matt, wouldn't it?
Oh, it's funny because of arse and stuff. Yeah,
anus.
Yeah, but when I thought to it, it's like, yeah, that would be great. Like, one of my dreams, and this is a sad dream. One of my dreams is to go to like a scrapyard.
I was just thinking you were going to say one of my dreams is to be wrapped in towels.
No. I mean, although now it's on the bucket list for sure. It's to go to a scrapyard and like buy a car and smash it off a baseball bat. That looks like brilliant.
Fair man. That sounds like a good afternoon.
Yeah, that sounds great. I've always wanted to do that. It's like, look, I mean, surely you can just go to scrapyard. Say, look, there's a mini over there. It's knackered. I've got a bat. How much? I just want to smash it up. I mean,
that's
can't get away doing
isn't it? That would be life affirming. I think I'd be up for that.
Okay, let's just find a nearest scrapyard between all of us, and we'll get Dave, and then we'll just all meet up for like the big TCGS scrapyard meet, and there'll be like 3 hours of us just each on their own, just smashing cars up.
Yeah,
and
can we stream it?
Yeah, well, yeah. I guess we can have a cameraman or camera person, and that'll be it.
Get it on Periscope.
Yeah, afterwards we all be like smoking cigarettes, just talking about how we saw Jesus, and like it was, I'm quitting my job. I'm gonna live in the woods. I've seen God. I don't know anything. I've smashed up. I smashed up a Renault Clio Mark II. I'm done now.
Do you think it matter what car it was? Would it have to be a cool car? If it's like a Micra or something, would that take some of the fun out of it?
I can donate a Honda Jazz if you want.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes, let's smash up your car. Even better. Yeah, that'd be more satisfying. Smash up someone's car you knew. Yeah.
I'm smashing up the clutch.
Is there like anyone out there we'd like to get revenge on for anything in particular?
So you're thinking actual crime?
Yeah, we'll just go and smash their car up. If they went to E3, we can find... No, that's not funny. That's quite a serious problem.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
What's the next question, Matt?
Slippery. Like, do you want to apologise now, Sean, or next week's show?
No, I don't think it warrants an apology. I think it's fine.
Oh, okay. Didn't you earlier say, why do people find it so hard to apologise?
No. Why are people so bad at apologies? I haven't tried to apologise.
Yeah, you're not even bad. You're just refusing to do it. It's fine.
I was not seriously condoning looking up someone's address and going and smashing up their car.
No.
It's just a joke. It's just a joke.
It's just
probably what's going to happen now is an actual games writer is going to get their car smashed up, and then the police are going to be informed about this. Yeah. That's what's going to happen now.
But at least that's new listeners. Like, maybe the jury haven't heard this show before. So,
that's true.
Hello, if you're listening, it's usually not like this. But I would love to smash up a Clio.
Getting played in a fucking courtroom.
Anyway, Exhibit A. Let's end on this one. Joseph King, at Joseph King 87, in tears listened to Dr. Farley's rat story last week, where James threw a rat off a four-story window onto a car, and the car was a write-off. That may not have happened. That last bit. Any other funny and or dangerous animal encounters?
So when I was a teenager. No, I say teenager, like college years, so 17, 18.
That's still a teenager, isn't it?
Me and some of my friends, so my mate Pete used to live near quite a few fields with livestock in them, and one time we did this game he invented called Animal Olympics.
Oh, God.
Where he bought a load of cheap sports medals from a pound shop. And we had to go into the fields at night and try and put the medals on the cows and the sheep.
Okay, that's a lot better than the way I thought it was going to go.
I thought it was going to be something horrific then. But
the worst part is we didn't actually manage a single one because we were we got close to doing a sheep and then she just charged at us and then we got scared and...
Then you just walk back home at 2 in the morning with a handful of cheap medals.
Yeah, just all these little plastic medallions.
Your mum wakes up in the morning.
Stick the medal on it. Stick the medal on it.
You should just throw it. You might have gone on one of the horns or whatever. I don't know.
I mean, in you see kids who've put them doing stupid things on. I was going to say Vine, TikTok, or whatever they have now, and you think, God, what is happening to kids these days? We absolutely would have filmed that if we'd had the means to do so. We would have thought that was hilarious. Yeah.
What up, guys? Me and Pete here. About to play some Animal Olympics.
I'm sure this is Animal Olympics. We're going, oh no, quick, run away. It's a single... It's just that one sheep running at us. Yeah,
when you say Animal Olympics, I assume it's going to be something with javelins, but you're obviously a much better child than I was, so it's cool. But, I mean, obviously, you've already had one rat story, James. You must have some more animal encounters where have you chucked in other animals out of windows or just that one?
No, it's just a rat. And I can't think of any at the moment, to be honest.
Just to be clear, listeners, James was really anxious about that going out.
He really wanted me to cut that story.
Yeah.
I'm not cutting it, James. It's really funny.
It's just a rat. I know what you mean. I know people have them as pets, but they are you had a baby in the building, and they are vermin. Unfortunately, they do carry diseases. That is a legitimate concern. Anyone else would have done the same.
Pets were going to get involved or something like that.
Yes, I would have loved that sort of that. Pets have got. I mean, if you're listening, Pet, get involved. That's great. I mean, that's great promotion.
Pets are massacre healthy dogs, so I wouldn't get too worried about.
Really?
Yeah, God, yeah. They take in strays and then be like, oh, we couldn't rehome them in a week, so off they go, because they think it's kinder than allowing dogs to live on the streets or whatever. The really lovely organisation.
Okay.
I wish I had a really happy, funny, lovely pet story to end on, but I don't think I do.
That's it. I mean, that's the most dangerous animal story of all, really, isn't it?
It really is. We're going to end it on that.
Brilliant.
That mole.
Where we lived in Shanghai, there used to be chickens wandering around, but nothing ever happened.
Go on.
You didn't just boot one day because you're in a bad mood.
James, you can't say these two chickens walking around and say there wasn't a story. There clearly is a story.
No, there wasn't a story. Nothing ever happened. They just sort of, you walk past them and they look at you and you just walk past. That's it.
So you looked at a chicken looks at you, nothing ever happened, and that's your story.
No events
pretty much
of any kind.
Yeah, nothing happened.
I don't believe you, James. I'm with Matt on this.
I don't think anyone believes you right now.
I mean, Chen hates them. Absolutely, she can't stand chickens.
Ever since the time you kicked a chicken to death, is that why?
She's very scared.
She's been traumatised.
Yeah,
okay, just like eating them.
Yeah, she's fine with eating them. It's,
okay,
but
so she's fine with KFC, but she doesn't like one. Going. She doesn't like that.
Basically, yeah.
Makes me sick.
Makes me sick. Someone near our house has recently started keeping chickens. Do you know how I know that? Because I can fucking hear them.
Have you thought about bringing back Animal Olympics?
I could. They just come out one day and there's just a little medal on one of the chickens.
Do get ready for Tokyo 2020. Get you and Pete and a camera. You can start your YouTube channel like you always dreamed of.
Yeah, we'll have to break into someone else's house to do it. I think technically, there was a public right of way in the field with the animals in it that we used back in the day, whereas this would actually just be breaking into someone's garden.
You're trying to legally cover yourself there, Sean.
I like that you'd already looked into legal ramifications as a 17-year-old. Well,
it's all right, lads. It's all right. It's a public right of way.
It's a private path, Pete. Let's
go. Right to Rome, mate. Right to fucking Rome.
Yeah.
I can do what I want. You can't chuck medals around though. That's not allowed. No. Let's get on to the end bit. Streaming. Yeah, both James and I finished our games last week, so it's all new games this week. Although before that, I'm sorry, we moved the schedule around. Before that, today is Wednesday, and tonight's Sean streaming. It's Play by the Bell in its new time slot of Wednesday nights at 9:00.
Too right. I'm going to be playing. I already know what I'm going to be playing.
Are you willing to reveal to listener now, Sean?
I am willing to divulge. I'm playing a game called Concrete Jungle. Which is basically, it's one of them games where you building a city, but everything you place affects the score of other things. It's a bit like Islanders that I played the other week.
Oh, okay, cool.
So it's in a similar vein to that. But I saw, Tom Francis, who made Gunpoint and a couple of other cool games. He did a video about it the other day, and it looked absolutely fascinating. And it was £4 on the Humble store, so bought it. I'm gonna play it.
Nice one. So that is tonight. If you listen to us on the day of release, Wednesday night, 9:00. It's Play by the Bell. Friday night, James, started with a brand new game. It's Until Dawn. Yeah. Now, how much do you know about this game, James?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Cool.
Is that a good thing or not?
I only played an hour. I think Dave lent me the disc, and I think I like it. It's do you want me to tell you what I think it is? Probably
no, don't tell me anything.
Okay, well, don't worry about it. It's playing Until Dawn Friday night, 9:00. And on Sunday night, I am playing Night in the Woods. It's going off my plate. That's Sunday night from 8:30. That's all on twitch.tv/The Computer Game Show. Also a Mixer if you want to watch us there, but just stick on Twitch. Speaking of Twitch, if you've got Amazon Prime, you also have Twitch Prime. If you connect your accounts, you have one free subscription every single month that Amazon do not want you to spend. They would hate it if you spent it. So why not go over to our channel and give us that free monthly subscription? It doesn't cost you a penny. You can't spend a $5 on your own self. You have to give it to someone else. We really appreciate it if you went over to our channel and subbed. And if you sub before, it doesn't renew, so feel free to go over to our channel once again and resub. That money really helps us, and we really, really appreciate it.
Also, Ninja's gone now, isn't he? So you might as well give it to us instead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's subs literally going begging. So just throw them our way. We'd love that. Star Calls is out, of course, every single Monday. It's out this week. Dave watched Rogue One. It's really interesting, really, really great show. So that's out on all podcast services and YouTube, of course. And last week on Patreon, we launched. We released our most recent TCGS Talks Over, where we talked over the Wii show at E3 2006, which is really interesting. So if you're $10 Patreon above, you can watch that right now. And if you want to support us on Patreon, anything we do, or all the things we do, you can support us there by going to patreon.com/TCGS, or just go to thecomputergameshow.com for everything else.
Mint. Right, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week, or on the streams, or on the bonus shit if you've paid for it. Cheers, and thanks. Just honestly, from the bottom of my heart, just thanks for letting us be natural, mate. Honestly,
Oh, it's nice. Nice you've said that. Yeah. No, it's. I mean, that's safe for all of us in a way.
Yeah, it's it just means a lot. But yeah,
no, that's fine.
Night.
All right. Yeah.
Bye-bye.